Welcome into Steelers Talk Live by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. I am your host, Jack Sperry. Thank you guys so much for joining me here on a beautiful Tuesday evening on the day that is the first day of Steelers mandatory minicamp. And we got some big news today, ladies and gentlemen, as just moments ago, it was announced that the Pittsburgh Steelers and edge rusher Nick Herbig have agreed to terms on a massive 4-year, $100 million extension to keep Herbig under contract here in Pittsburgh for the next half decade. Big-time move here made by the Pittsburgh Steelers that indicates that they plan on Herbig being their number 2 edge rusher of the future here. Mike Garafolo reported the news today. Linebacker Nick Herbig and the Steelers have agreed on a 4-year, $100 million extension that includes $42 million guaranteed. So that is obviously a big-time number there for Mr. Herbig. And total over the 5 years that he is under contract now, you take the $3.67 million that he was owed this year on the final year of his rookie contract, you add the 100 on top of that, he is now under contract for the next 5 years and is slated to make $103.67 million over the course of the next half decade. Congratulations to Nick Herbig for this generational amount of wealth that he just signed on the dotted line for, man. He's earned it, all right? Like, he's obviously never been a starter in this league before, a full-time one that is, but he has stepped up when this team has needed him to. T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith have had injuries throughout the course of the last several years, and Herbig, as that number 3 designated pass rusher, as they call it, he's been one of the best, if not the best, at that role in the National Football League, and they certainly project him as a future starter at this position. Now, right now, I believe with the $100 million that he got and that contract extension, that means that right now in terms of total value, the Steelers have 3 edge rushers that are very high up in the total earnings per year among edge rushers. So it's not sustainable for a long period of time. I do believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers will keep T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig on the same team this year. We've talked about on this channel the possibilities with a NASCAR package here in Pittsburgh that I think Patrick Graham would definitely love to deploy. This is a win-now season on what is expected to be Aaron Rodgers' final year. They're trying to make a push for a Super Bowl before Cam Heyward retires. I do believe that they will have Nick Herbig, T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith all on the same team this year, and then when Alex Highsmith is going into a contract year next year, he's going to want a contract extension probably next offseason. It's going to pay him a lot of money, and he's going to be going into his age 30 season. That's frankly the best time to make that transition for Herbig into a full-time starter in the Steelers defense. So I think this is exactly the right move here, Producer Ponzi. I think that this is a fantastic timing of this as well, because now Herbig can participate in the rest of mandatory minicamp and the rest of OTAs coming up in the weeks to come. He's going to be a full participant during training camp and all this different stuff. And, for somebody that's waited his turn, I think that he is more than worth the $25 million per season he's going to be getting in the years to come.
I definitely agree, and I think, one of those things that you do for a young pass rusher, especially if you think that he's going to be a budding superstar, is that you pay him early. You pay that, that fee early. Yeah, sure, it seems like a lot for a guy who really doesn't have the production like a TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith, but you got to remember, like, Alex Highsmith kind of got like the same type of deal when, I think his production was a little bit better than Herbig's, but I mean, just an incredible deal, and shout out to Omar Khan, shout out to Nick Herbig for earning this deal. I think obviously the next on the totem pole, some people would say the first would be Joey Porter Jr. Mm-hmm. I think that deal is going to get done sooner than people think. I think, obviously that's something both sides want to get done. Joey Porter Jr. is one of the highest, or the best rated corners in all of football. So I really do think that he's going to be next up. I think, Steelers are doing a great job. Chris Boswell, Nick Herbig, these are guys that you're going to be paying in 3 years. The contract's going to be looking like, man, they got them for a steal.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same thing with Alex Highsmith, right? He signed a $17 million per season contract back in 2023, that extension. And now we look back on that contract as one of the better value contracts in the National Football League. And, I've heard some people discuss, Herbig is making more per year now than Alex Highsmith. How can we have Herbig be the number 3 edge rusher? But it's like you look at the cap hits for this year, Alex Highsmith's cap hit is going to be a lot higher than Nick Herbig's this year. So in terms of the value to the team, quote unquote, it's all about cap, not cash, right? So Highsmith, who's going to be having the higher cap hit, is going to be this team's number 2 edge rusher. And then Herbig, really the cap hit for him is not going to really seep in until next year. So we'll see exactly how they structure it. But they absolutely have time and they have cap room, to get a deal done with Joey Porter Jr. as well. But Ponzi, another thing when it comes to the Joey Porter Jr. extension, it's a little bit more tricky because, he's going to want to get paid like a top 5 corner. All right? Listen, if that's what he wants to go get, he has every right to want that and to go seek that. I do think that he was a top 10 corner in football last year. But right now, you look at the highest paid cornerbacks, you look at that top rung, Trent McDuffie, Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley Jr., I think Joey Porter Jr. is going to want to get paid 30. Just because that's where the cornerback market is. He said today at mandatory minicamp he sees himself as an elite corner. If you view yourself as an elite corner, I think for him the starting price probably starts at $30 million. Now, in terms of what I would feel comfortable paying him, it'd be more in that J.C. Horn, Pat Surtain kind of category there. Maybe more like $27 million is probably what I'd be more comfortable paying. But something that's nice about this, Ponzi, about the Joey Porter Jr. situation, is that the Steelers do have a little bit of leverage against Joey Porter Jr. And the reason why they have a little bit of leverage in this situation is because they have good depth at the outside cornerback position. So they can tell Joey, hey, this is what we're offering you. This is what we think you're worth. You can decide not to play this year and decide to forfeit the money that you are slated to get this year if you want. But we have, a lot of money, or not a lot of money. We have a lot of starter caliber talent in our cornerback room right now. We have Brandon Echols, who played on the inside and outside last year. He's played a lot of outside corner in his career. We brought back Asante Samuel Jr., who is a starting level corner, right? You bring in Dalen Everett, who has been playing well during the offseason program. So, Joey can sit there and say, I want $30 million a season because I think I'm an elite corner. But the Steelers can sit there and give him, a number that's less than that and say, we have the leverage here. We have pretty good depth at corner that we feel comfortable moving forward with, even if you don't want to play for this team this year, and you don't want to accept our offer. So the Steelers do have a little bit of leverage in that regard. So I disagree with you, Ponzi. I think this one might take a little bit longer. No, maybe they get it done before training camp. Maybe that is the ideal situation because you obviously, if Joey's going to play, you don't want him to miss a bunch of time in training camp and for him to be rusty coming into the season. That's not what you want to happen. You want him to build chemistry with the rest of the secondary and the defense and all that. But I think it's going to get done. I think it's a little bit more of a tricky situation. I don't think Joey is going to come off that $30 million number as quickly as maybe you think he will. But I think it's going to be an interesting situation to see how it plays out. But I do think it'll probably be closer to training camp when they get that deal done.
And to, kind of play devil's advocate to here, Sperry, it's just more so of I think he's probably going to end up settling for that 26, 27 number.
I hope so.
Getting off that 30 number. But I really do think, obviously, they have a bunch of depth, but if you're talking about the Steelers in a win-now season, this defense is not going to be elite without Joey Porter Jr., in my opinion. I think, obviously you can get some surface-level, replacement-level guys in Asante Samuel Jr. and, why am I blanking on the other guy? Brandon Bishop or B.D. Bishop, whatever. Don't know why I just blanked, but whatever the case may be, I really do think, or Brandon Echols, sorry, I really do think that the Steelers, if they want to have that elite defense like they're planning on with Patrick Graham, it's going to have to involve Joey Porter Jr. And so I think the leverage kind of goes back to him of saying, hey, I know you guys have depth, but without me, you're going to be an okay defense. You're going to be a good defense, not a great defense that you want to be.
I think they could still be pretty good. I do agree that the secondary takes a hit without Joey Porter Jr. because he is, in my opinion, a top 10 corner. He's a top 5 man-to-man corner in the league. He's been absolutely shut down, right? So I'm not trying to say here that, the Steelers shouldn't pay Joey Porter Jr. I absolutely think that they should. I just don't think, maybe they do have a little bit of leverage here to get that number down from $30 million to 26 or 27 and save a little bit in the long run here. We'll see when they end up getting that deal done. But, I think that Joey probably wants 30. We'll see how steadfast he is on that. But, I think the Steelers are comfortable with a situation here where they would, maybe have to play with Asante Samuel Jr. as a starting corner if there's an injury or something like that. I still think this deal is going to get done. I don't want anyone out there to panic or say Sperry doesn't like Joey Porter Jr. or anything like that. Like, I love JPJ. I just think, because of having Asante in there, who is a starting caliber corner, in my opinion. And for the people saying, why did we sign Jamel Dean then? I think that was a situation where they didn't really expect to be able to get Jamel Dean for what they got him for. They got him for an absolute steal at just, what was it, $12.5 million per season?
Yeah,
and he was expected to get $18, $19 million, $20 million a season. We got him for $12.5. I don't think the Steelers necessarily thought they were going to be able to get him for that. They brought back Asante Samuel Jr. thinking that, maybe he could start this year. I think that they maybe had more plans to draft a corner higher than they actually ended up doing. And, they're kind of in this situation here where you've got two excellent veteran man-to-man corners in Joey Porter Jr. and Jamel Dean. And then you've got an awesome, third corner on the outside in Asante Samuel Jr., which definitely gives you really, really good depth here. So I do think this deal is going to get done. And because of that leverage that I mentioned that the Steelers, I think, have a little bit here, I do think Joey probably ends up taking less than $30 million a season.
I definitely think that too.
I think it's going to be somewhere in the range of $26 to $28 million a season, and he'll be still a top 5 paid corner in the league.
Yeah, and I do think that that's probably going to end up being the case. The other question then comes to the edge rusher room, which I'm seeing a lot of people already in our chat say trade T.J. Watt for the Myles Garrett type deal. That's just not going to happen, guys.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man. What did T.J. have last year with sack production?
Not a lot.
I think he had off the top of my head, I want to say 7 sacks.
I want to say it was 7.5.
He had 7 sacks last year. Myles Garrett had 23 guys, all right? And I know Watt was out for a little bit with a lung issue, but, T.J. Watt wasn't even close to as productive as Myles Garrett was even before the injury, right? We have to be realistic here about what and who T.J. Watt is at this point in his career. He is a physically regressing former superstar edge rusher. I still think he's a star. I still think he's a really good player. One of the best run-defending edge rushers in the league. Still can get after the quarterback. Still commands double teams and chip help and all that different stuff. But, I think, he definitely underperformed his contract that he earned his extension last year, and he's going to have to play better if he's going to live up to the money that they ended up giving him, because they're giving him quarterback-level money.
And I don't know if this is a crazy take. Maybe people will blast me for this. I don't even know if T.J. Watt gets a second.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Steelers would be happy to get it. I mean, if they wanted to trade T.J. Watt at this point in his career with the last couple years with the production dipping and all that different stuff, I think they'd be pretty lucky to get a second for him, guys. And they might, I think they probably would get a second. I think there's a team, a good football team that would be willing to give up, a projected late second-round pick for T.J. Watt, and that's probably what his value is at this point. Just with the contract, with the age, with the physical regression that we've seen, there's a little bit of risk being taken by the team that would end up trading for him. I don't think the Steelers want to trade him, plain and simply. I think that they view him as a one-helmet player. They viewed Big Ben the same way. They view, Cam Heyward the same way. I think the guy they're going to end up trading is Alex Highsmith next offseason, and frankly, the timing is right for that, Ponzi. He's going into a year where he's going to want a new contract extension. Because he's going into a contract year, and then also he's going to be turning 30 in 2027. So I think that is probably around the right time here to unload Highsmith for again a day 2 pick. I think is what Alex Highsmith is worth, a day 2 pick, maybe a late second, somewhere 3rd round pick. I think is probably where he's worth right now. We'll see if he can stay healthy this year. We'll see how he performs this year, all that different stuff, and we'll see what his value looks like next offseason. But I do think Highsmith is the guy that they're looking to unload. And I think if you think T.J. Watt is capable of getting a good young edge rusher, a 1st-round pick, a 2nd and a 3rd-round pick, I think you're absolute batshit crazy with all due respect. That is just not the type of value that T.J. Watt brings as a player anymore. Not anymore. But maybe after his 21 sack season, you could definitely make an argument for that. I think he would have definitely been worth that after his 21 sack season. But like after a 7-sack campaign, after multiple years where he has slowed down physically, all right, let's just be honest with what T.J. Watt has done on film these last couple of years. You know, I love TJ, but like my job is to be objective with you guys, all right? And TJ Watt is not the same player he once was. So he would not get the same return that he once would have if you would have traded him back during his prime. And, you know, it's just comparing apples to oranges when you're talking about him versus Myles Garrett, who is still in his prime, right? Even though they're around the same age, Myles Garrett is still producing at all world levels. TJ Watt is not anymore. So, you know, that's going to play a factor in these kinds of discussions.
And we're not saying that he can't get back to those production of like at least a 10-sack season, maybe, being an impact player.
I don't think he's getting back to 20.
I don't think he's getting back to 20. I think that's a little bit of a reach. But I'm not saying that it's going to be like, oh, well, TJ Watt's just a bum. You know, he's not going to provide.
Still a really good football player.
Exactly.
Still like, really good.
I want to make that abundantly clear that that's not the take we're going with. It's just he's not that superstar caliber guy anymore, and that's okay. Well, not with the money you're paying him, but that's okay in terms of, like, you have to live with that reality.
Now, maybe, like, TJ Watt in exchange for Jared Verse, just straight up?
No.
I mean, listen, man, Verse had more sacks than Watt last year.
And that's saying a lot because he was not that good.
And he's way younger. I actually think Verse, at least in terms of being a trade asset, I'm not saying as a player right now, I'm saying as a trade asset, just because of the youth and the upside of Jared Verse, I think, you know, I honestly think the Steelers would have been the one that had to give the Rams a pick in that potential trade if you would have swapped Watt for Verse this year. And I know a lot of Steelers fans would be, oh, you're crazy, all this different stuff. But you have to realize, man, that rookie contracts and, you know, very young players with upside, they're just going to have more value on the trade market than, you know, soon to be 32-year-old edge rusher coming off a 7-sack season, you know. So I love TJ Watt. We have, you know, some wall art of him right up here. He's a Steelers legend for life as far as I'm concerned. He's an amazing player. He frankly has held this team together and kept this team afloat for multiple seasons.
And like, I think this was the first season where TJ Watt got injured and the Steelers actually had a winning record.
Yeah. Well, no, because he was injured the last 3 years at some point.
Well, like, I think they went 500.
What you mean is that they had a above 500 record when went with him out. Yeah. That is true. And listen, man, like, I think the Steelers wasted TJ Watt's prime. Like, when he was as good as he was, and he was like the whole reason why the Steelers were going 9-8, 10-7, and with the offense being as bad as it was for as many years as it was. I mean, like, dude, if we would have had a good offense with him playing that well during those years, like, we could have won a Super Bowl during that time. We legitimately could have. Unfortunately, we had Matt Canada and all these different terrible OCs and, you know, terrible quarterback play and Big Ben getting old. And I hate to say it, Ponzi, but I think we wasted TJ Watt in his prime, just like Cleveland ended up with Myles Garrett. And, you know, the sad part is that, like, TJ Watt will always be a Steeler icon to be a legend, and it's the same thing with Cam Heyward. Yep. You could argue the same. And obviously Cam Heyward hasn't taken a dip. In fact, he's been really good. But it's really sad to see these Steelers legends that, you know, unless maybe this is the 1 year that can all come together, but they might end up not having a ring with the Steelers. Well, I'll say this, man. These three guys up here, I mean, even though Watt isn't what he once was as an individual player, I still think Watt, Highsmith, and Herbig, especially with how much they're going to use Herbig in those NASCAR packages this year, I think Watt's going to have a resurgent year. I think he could have, you know, somewhere between 13 and 17 sacks this year, depending on how healthy he is and all that different stuff. I think he'll have double-digit sacks and be a very, very productive star-level player. Then Highsmith will add maybe another double-digit sacks to that total, and Herbig will approach that as well as the third edge rusher. I think that the Steelers could lead the league in sacks this year. That's on the table, right? So just because we're having this discussion and this honest discussion about Watt saying he's not what he once was, which was the best defensive player in football, he's taken a step back from that to where he's a star player still, but he's not what he once was. You combine those other talents here with Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig. This is still, a top 5 at least, probably top 3 edge rusher trio in the National Football League right now, and this defense and this pass rush is still more than capable of getting it done, guys. All right, so on tonight's show, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about the best and worst moves that the Pittsburgh Steelers have made this offseason, according to ESPN. Then we'll get into our latest rookie player profile here with Indiana fullback Riley Nowakowski. Then we'll get to your questions with the Steelers Talk mailbag. Make sure you guys use hashtag Steelers in the live chat room or super chat to get your question on the Q&A right up on screen next to me and Ponzi. Of course, you guys can put in questions on anything. The Nick Herbig extension, the schemes that they're running this year here in Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers, anything that you want, the quarterback room. Happy to answer all of your questions, guys. And then, of course, we have our Week 6 Madden simulation at the end of this year where the Steelers will take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So make sure you guys stick around for that. But if you guys want to skip the line and you guys want your question answered first, and you want to skip the line of Super Chats, you guys can either Venmo or PayPal me at Jack-Sperry on Venmo or at Captain Jackrabbit on PayPal. To get your questions read first, the reason why Venmo and PayPal questions get answered first and they can skip the line is because YouTube takes a 30% cut of all Super Chats that you guys send in, and Apple takes another 10%. If you guys send in your donations via Venmo and PayPal, we get to keep more of those proceeds, and your donation dollars don't go to the conglomerates of Google and Apple. They go back to us here, a small company that needs to pay for lighting and needs to pay for rent and all that different stuff. So greatly appreciate your guys' support. So let's get the party started, man. We got over 330 Yinzers in this chat room right now. Type those me's in the chat. Spam it. For a shout out here. I'd like to get to at least 100 likes before we get into our first segment today, guys. So make sure you click that thumbs up icon. I see Tristan. I see Gray. I see Michael. I see Czar Craig. I see Matthew. I see Kevin Reed is here. We've got Fernando Martin. Derek is here. Ian is here. Wayne. Preston. Mr. Deadhead. We've got my lovely fiance, Cassie Voth, as always. This is the last week I'll be saying that, by the way, because I am getting married on Saturday. Christopher Turner. We've got Kobe. We've got Tremaine, Ladome, Brian. We've got Dave, Gregory, Chase. Got a great crew of Steelers fans ready to talk some ball. But before we get into the first round of Super Chats here, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. And guys, the finals are finally here, and I'm going to be putting in a Prize Picks lineup for every single game of Spurs versus Knicks this year. The app is super easy to use, guys. You just pick more than or less than on a few player stat projections and then lock in your lineup. And if basketball isn't your thing, they have a ton of other sports to choose from as well with a number of different stat projections in each of those sports to truly customize your daily fantasy lineups. You guys can take a look at this future projection that we have here for next year's football season. I'm taking the more on passing yards for Aaron Rodgers, the more on receiving touchdowns for DK Metcalf, and the more on interceptions for the Browns' linebacker Carson Schlesinger. So this particular projection is a power play, which means you have to get all three correct to be able to cash in. But if you do so, you get more winnings. With this particular projection, if you put in a $20 entry fee, you can walk away with $105 from our friends at Prize Picks. So get in on the fun here, guys. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app. Big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk Live. All right, flurry of Bernard Super Chats to start today's show. He says Nick Herbig deserves it. Happy for him. I agree. I think that we're going to look at this contract 3 years from now and say that was a hell of a deal made by Omar Khan and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that you have to realize here, guys, that this contract is not necessarily for this year because he's not going to be making $25 million against the cap this year. It's going to be a very low cap hit this year, and then when Alex Highsmith likely gets traded next offseason, Herbig becomes the full-time starter, and that number, the $25 million per season, becomes a lot more palatable. And it's still going to be expensive. Edge rusher duo, TJ's cap hits are still going to be extremely high, and you got Nick Herbig's cap hits, which will be around $25 million per season. We'll see how they structure it, but I think that it's worth the money, man. If TJ continues to play well and Nick Herbig continues to ascend, I think that can continue to be one of the best edge rusher duos in the league, even after Alex Highsmith ends up getting traded most likely next offseason. Next one here from Bernard says, I hope we have a dominant pass rush this year. I mean, listen, man, you're paying this group to be dominant, plain simply. All right, and we've seen this, and as fans, I understand why people are skeptical of it, because over the last several years, we've had the number one highest paid defense, and yet it's yet another defensive player we're giving a massive contract to. So I see where some of the frustration from some fans are coming from here. But I think that, with Patrick Graham coming in, there's a lot of excitement that a new scheme can really unlock a lot of these players. And I think, with Herbig, I think is one of those players. I think Patrick Graham is one of those guys that has always really tailored his scheme and his game plans to the talent that he has. And if you have T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig on the same team, he's going to find a way to get all three of those guys on the field at the same time. And if all three of those guys are on the field at the same time in a passing situation, it's going to be really hard to get rid of that football before getting hit. $2 from Bernard says, does our D have to – what's that? I don't know. I think he means A-Rod have to be better this year than last year. Or I think, is it our defense has to be better this year than last year, or A-Rod has to be better? Clarify that for us, Bernard, if you will. But, I agree. I think both of them need to be better. So I think the answer is yes to both of those questions. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers needs to be more efficient and play better this year than he did last. You hope that because of the better coaching staff and the better scheme and the better weapons around him, he'll be able to do that. All right, we'll see if that ends up being the case, but I think there's a pretty good chance of that. Then with the defense, I also think there's a pretty good chance that this defense is better than last year because, you add some really good pieces, and Jamel Dean, Sebastian Joseph Day might be the most underrated move that this team made all offseason because he's a run stuffer. With a new scheme coming in, hopefully getting more out of guys like Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson at the linebacker spot, Jalen Ramsey being able to play nickel where he's most comfortable. I think that this team has a chance to have a special defense with Patrick Graham leading the way as DC. So I completely agree with you there, Bernard. Both of those sections need to be better, and frankly, I think they both will be better this year. Bernard says, what's going to happen with Highsmith? Plain and simply, I think they're going to keep him this year while Herbig's cap hit is still low, and then when Herbig's money and his cap hits start to kick in next year, they're going to trade Highsmith because it's the perfect time, right? He's turning 30 in 2027. That's around the time where these players start to physically regress, and then also he's going to be going into a contract year, so if he has another good season this year like we're expecting, he's going to want to get paid, right? And it's going to be a huge contract that he's going to want to get paid. So I think it's probably the right time to unload him and trade him for probably, I would say right now, if I had to guess, it's probably going to end up being a third-round pick because the team that ends up trading for him is also going to have to give him a massive extension. So that's going to drive down his trade value a little bit, but I think a round 3 pick is probably what we can get for Highsmith. And we'll see how he plays this year. If he plays lights out and he gets 15-plus sacks, then he might be worth a second-round pick, right? Or maybe even a late first. We'll see. But, I think that probably a day 2 pick is what we get for him, and I think that's the right time to let him go next offseason. $2 from Bernard says, hot take, Nick Herbig gets first-team All-Pro. I disagree. Listen, man, Bernard, I love your hot takes. But, man, you got to be one of the 2 best edge rushers in the entire sport to be a first-team All-Pro player, all right? And Myles Garrett is probably going to get one of those spots, okay? So and he's got to be better than Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Max Crosby, Aiden Hutchinson, T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, right? He's got to be the best player on this team to be a first-team All-Pro edge rusher, and I just don't see that happening this year, Bernard. I think he's going to be really good this year, but he is still the number 3 edge rusher on this team, right? So – and he's going to be – the snap count's going to reflect that. So I just don't think he's going to have enough snaps to even have that be a possibility this year. If you want to say he's eventually going to be a first-team All-Pro, that's a better take right there in my opinion. $5 from Bernard says, Jack, do you think the Steelers are Super Bowl contenders? If not, do you think they are playoff contenders? So in my opinion, guys – heading into every season, this is generally how the NFL breaks down. They break down into 3 different categories. All right, there's about a quarter of the league that is already proven that they are legitimate contenders. They're expecting to be able to be contenders during that season. And then I would say about half the league are Super Bowl hopefuls, where if everything goes right, and if they hit green lights all across the way, they could potentially get into that group of title contenders by the end of the season. Then there's the final quarter, which is they're truly rebuilding. They're not really expecting to compete for a Super Bowl or anything like that. Right now, the Steelers are in that middle category, as are most teams, right? Half the league is in that category. So I think the Steelers are in this position where they've got too many question marks to be able to bona fidely say, yes, for sure, this team is going to be a title contender this year. But, like, is it possible that, like, if everything goes right this year, that they could compete for a Super Bowl? I think the answer to that question is yes. I think that this defense has the potential to go from just okay under Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin to really special and elite under Patrick Graham, because I think that the scheme really held the talent back here in Pittsburgh. I think Aaron Rodgers can play better this year than he played last year because of the better coaching and weapons around him. I think that you have a lot of talent on the offensive line. That's a big question mark, but, you know, I do think that it's possible for this team to be a title contender this year. Right now, they're a Super Bowl hopeful, and we'll see how everything plays out. How do the coaches do this year? Aaron Rodgers, can he, develop a chemistry with Jeremy Bernard? Does this offensive line gel together? All these different question marks. The Steelers need to stay healthy, and they need all of those green lights to hit to really have a chance this year. So I would say the chances of a Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl this year are relatively low, but they are there, right? And I would say that if you would have gone with Will Howard, Drew Aller as your starting quarterback, Mason Rudolph, or any of these other guys, the chances would have been zero. So at least you're going into the year with a chance, which is what the Steelers are hoping for with this current kind of regime trying to get a Super Bowl championship for Cam Heyward. They're trying to do everything they can to try to get Cam a Super Bowl. So we'll see what ends up happening in that regard. $2 from Bernard says, it feels like I'm the only one excited for this. The extension? For this team. No, Bernard, as you know, I'm right there with you, man. I am so excited for this team. I cannot wait to watch this team play football. I think the defense is going to be so fun to watch. I think the offense is finally going to open things up and be pass-centric and, pushing the ball down the field and attacking the middle of the field, all these things that it wasn't under Mike Tomlin. I think it is going to be here with Mike McCarthy. $10 from Devone. Says, hey, Jack, Cassie, Ponzi, and Steelers Nation. My son and a new addition to Steelers family was just born on the 29th of May. Just want to say congratulations to both of you and keep up the good work. Devone, congratulations to you, my friend, and your family on the newborn Yinzer. I hope that you swaddled that baby up in a nice Steelers blanket, just like Mike McCarthy was when he was a little baby. That's fantastic, man. Congratulations to you and your family. We did get a $5 Venmo here from my friend Mac H. Mac H with a 5. And he says, I really hope the Steelers try to take Herbig down the same one-helmet road like T.J. Watt. Also, I will be at the Week 8 home game versus the Browns, hoping they can get us a win. Me and you both there, Mac. Yeah, man, I think it's too early in Herbig's career to be like, for sure, he's a franchise icon that we want to make a one-helmet player. But, by the end of his contract, this second contract, he's going to be approaching, age 30. So we'll see how he's playing by the end of this deal. I think by then he'll be a bona fide starter for this team. And hopefully, he can just continue to rack up the production and continue to stack career year after career year. And, if he can do that, we could be talking about him as a one-helmet player. So we'll see. $2 from Bernard says the offense limited Aaron Rodgers, not the other way around. Now, here's the way I will say it. Yes, I completely agree with you, Bernard. Having the worst wide receiver room in the league, or at least, bottom 3 wide receiver room in the league, is going to hurt the passing offense. It just is. Like, I don't understand why. Like, it seems like everyone knows this. Everyone knows that the Steelers receiver room was ass last year, and they still want to place the blame on Aaron Rodgers for the lack of downfield passing efficiency. And it's like, man, it's I don't want to say it's one or the other. They are, it's a symbiotic relationship. Rodgers had his hand in it, but at the same time, like, we saw Tom Brady have very similar struggles when he had a terrible wide receiver room in New England in 2019. What did he do when he had better weapons around him and a better play caller in 2020? They won the fucking Super Bowl and he was 43 years old. So is that a guarantee Rodgers is going to repeat Brady's success? No, but Rodgers still has his arm talent like Brady did. He's an all-time great football mind like Brady was. He's got some really good pocket presence when he's not just dumping the ball off, right? But last year it was the smart thing to get the ball out quickly, right? Because there wasn't going to be open receivers down the field, especially when DK Metcalf was getting double teamed. So the smart thing to do was to get it to your yak threats in, Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell and DK Metcalf and Darnell Washington, and get the ball out quickly and play efficiently and not take too many sacks and not throw too many interceptions. And, Rodgers, I think, did a pretty decent job of playing that style. And guess what? They won 10 games. He went 10-6 as this team started. They won 4 more games than they lost. They won the division. They beat the Ravens both times with Lamar Jackson playing in both of those games, right? Like, I think that with a better surrounding cast, Rodgers is going to play better. And, with the way he played last year, if you put better weapons around that quarterback, I think you get a pretty darn good and solid game manager style quarterback. Now, with that said, I do think Rodgers has some limitations. I think if you're being honest about who Aaron Rodgers is, he's not going to escape the pocket and be a mobile guy like he once was in his career. And that's okay. As long as you have a good structure around him, you got a great defense to support him on the other side. He can use his arm talent, his pocket presence, and his football IQ to be, a true pocket passer here in Pittsburgh, and that is fine. So hopefully the team is good enough around him to be able to give this team a shot. $2 from Bernard says another one. Oh, I think we just saw that one. Did he send the same thing twice? Okay. Sounds good. We got a lot of $2 apparently from Bernard. Says Warren Moon took a shot at Rodgers. Don't care. $5 says I think A-Rod would be great this year, and I think him and Big Mike will click. I hope you're right. Says if you put A-Rod on the Rams right now, would they still be Super Bowl favorites? Great question. I think the answer is yes. All right, with the surrounding cast, the coaching that they have, Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald might be coming out of retirement now. They are so good around the quarterback there in L.A. I think if you put Aaron Rodgers on the L.A. Rams, they are Super Bowl favorites.
Hot take, maybe. I think if you put Carson Wentz on that team, they're still Super Bowl favorites.
That's a hot take. I wouldn't say that. I think Carson Wentz is...
I think that's like the backup level that I'm willing to admit that...
I think Carson Wentz is...
With that defense, dude, I don't know, man.
No, I'd still... Not favorites. You can maybe say contenders, and maybe Carson Wentz gets hot in the playoffs, but like favorites, no. No, not with all the
that's my hot take.
Not with all the great quarterback play in the league, but with Rodgers, absolutely they would be favorites with Rodgers if they was their starting quarterback. $5 again says most of the national media gives the Steelers no shot, picking them to miss the playoffs. Happens every year. It's happened the last 3 years, and they've made the playoffs all 3 years. They've won double-digit games all 3 years, and this is the best team out of all those teams. So I've heard it every single year, Bernard. It's just elevator music to me. Doesn't matter whatsoever. $2 from Bernard says, I believe A-Rod when he said this is it. Yeah, it could be. Now, if they make it to the AFC Championship game, Rodgers has a great year, and they come just short of the Super Bowl, and Cam Heyward wants to play one more year, would it completely shock me if Hayward's like, Raji, you're still really good. Let's run it back one more year. I don't want to go with a first-year starting quarterback in my final year playing. I could see Rodgers coming back in that scenario, but I agree with you, Bernard. It's definitely very, very likely this is his last season. $5 from Bernard, again, says people question A-Rod coming back because they think the team is not a Super Bowl contender. Yeah, I mean, I get it. But obviously the team disagrees, and the team is in this mode of trying to get Cam Heyward a Super Bowl before he retires, and the team, the players, think that Rodgers gives them the best chance to do that. That's been very clear based on the reporting coming out of the Steelers building, is that the players think that he is their best option. And, we'll see if they're right. We'll see if they put a team around him good enough to be able to, put themselves in that conversation. We'll see. $10 from Edmund Karab says, what does the special teams look like? Talking about what they're talking about kicker, talking about punter, because Chris Boswell will be your kicker. You got Cameron Johnston.
The unit in general.
Cameron Johnston as the punter.
I think it's actually really improved with kick returner and punt returner.
Of course, you got Kuntz as your long snapper. I think Caden Weegen's going to play a big role as a kickoff and punt return man. He could change games for this team this year, so keep an eye out for him. And then you've got a number of special teams contributors: Ben Skoranek, Carson Bruner. You got all these guys that are going to be able to contribute there. What's that?
NFL news, the Falcons and star wide receiver Drake London have agreed to terms on a massive new contract extension.
Okay.
It's a 4-year deal.
Good for him, man. $2 from James Smith. He says, early congratulations on your wedding, brother. I appreciate you, James. Thank you so much. I'm very excited. By the next time I see you guys on live, because this is going to be our only live show this week, heading out to Minnesota tomorrow. Next time we see each other, it'll be Cassie Sperry. I won't say my lovely fiance Cassie Voth anymore. It'll be my lovely wife Cassie Sperry, which will be weird, but it will be great.
I think we'll be one of the only producer-host duos to be both married.
That's weird, too, because we're both pretty young.
Yeah.
Especially you. You're only 21. I'm 27, about to turn 28 in September. But, like, we're one of the youngest, I think, host and producer duos. And I think we'll be maybe the only one where both parties are married. I can't think of another one. $5 from Lost Name says, does this deal, if Alex isn't traded, affect Sawyer's field time and development? So Sawyer, once again, what his role is he's going to be the fourth edge rusher, and he'll get in occasionally. But essentially what Sawyer's here to do is he's going to be the third edge rusher if there's an injury. That's pretty much what his role is, and I think he's more than willing to play that role. He's a team guy. And we know injuries happen, especially with guys like TJ and Alex, who have both been injured, I think, like every season over the last 3 years in some capacity. And Herbig's dealt with his fair share of injuries as well. Some sort of injury is going to happen, right? So you're gonna want that third edge rusher to be a solid player. And we saw Jack play a very good role. And then in the future, when Highsmith gets traded probably next year, he's going to probably assume that third edge rusher role, especially if he impresses this new coaching staff. He's got to prove it in practice this year to earn that title. And I do think the Steelers probably draft another edge rusher probably in the middle rounds next year to kind of bolster up the room and compete with Jack Sawyer. But Sawyer is going to get more opportunities in 2027 and beyond, in my opinion. Next one here.
Got another one from
Bernard.
No.
Next one.
When it loads. It's from Aspect Just Different.
He says, how does Cassie Voth Sperry imagine that on a jersey? It's just going to be Cassie Sperry. She's not hyphenating. She's decided to just change it to Cassie Sperry, and we're just going to be one family unit in solidarity with the last name. If she wanted to hyphenate, that would have been fine. But I think that it's nice to be able to have that same last name and to be the Sperrys. So that'll be great.
Get that Christmas card.
Yeah, get that Christmas card there, Aspect. Appreciate the $2 there, my friend. Checking to see if I missed any Venmos. I did not. But like I said, guys, this will be our last live show of the week. The next time you'll see me is probably next Wednesday. Where we'll be, live once again, but we'll have over a week without a live show because I am getting married this Saturday. I'll be leaving tomorrow night, and we'll still be getting you guys videos and at-home stuff, and we'll have a studio show tomorrow. I will be coming into work tomorrow, but this will be our last live show here for a little bit over a week, and then by the time we're back next Wednesday, I will be a married man. So without further ado, man, let's get into our segments. We got a lot to get into today. ESPN put out an article breaking down the best and worst decision of every team's offseason. I'm going to be reacting to their picks here in our first segment today. Then we've got our latest rookie scouting report and player profile on fullback Riley Nowakowski. Again, get those hashtag Steelers and Super Chat questions in to get on the mailbag. And then, of course, we have our Madden Sim to finish up the day here. So without further ado, let's get into our first segment of the day here. ESPN's choices for the best and worst decision of the Steelers' 2026 offseason. Welcome into Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and ESPN just came out with an article breaking down their picks for the best and worst moves of the 2026 offseason for all 32 NFL teams. And today on the show, I'm going to be reacting to their picks, and Bill Barnwell's, to be more particular there, his picks for the best and worst decisions of the Steelers' 2026 offseason. Now it's the moment of truth, guys. Today's show, we're going to have a special new subscriber promotion here where every sub that we get today, it's going to equal one touchdown for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense this year. We're going to be breaking down the final number on tomorrow's show of how many subs that we ended up getting on today's video. So if you guys want the Steelers to score more touchdowns and you want free and informative Steelers videos every single day, make sure you guys click that subscribe button and join the Steelers Talk family. All right, so ESPN's pick for the best move that the Pittsburgh Steelers made this offseason was signing veteran cornerback Jamel Dean. this is what he had to say about this move. I'm on record suggesting that the Steelers needed to take the end of the Mike Tomlin era as a sign that it's time to rebuild around their young stars, but ownership has made it very clear that the team isn't heading in that direction. Let's leave their plan aside for a minute and judge how well they executed if their goal is to contend in 2026. The league generally doesn't want to pay cornerbacks as they approach 30, with the Steelers as one of the few exceptions. Though in years past, they've gone after players who've lost value, such as Jalen Ramsey and Patrick Peterson, Dean is still playing at a very high level. Lining up in a blitz-heavy scheme under coach Todd Bowles in Tampa Bay, Dean gave up a 63.1 passer rating in coverage last season, one of the best marks in the league. His 2.1% missed tackle rate also ranked among the league leaders, and Dean has consistently been a very good tackler in his 7-year career. The Steelers are only really on the hook for 1 year and $13.5 million, leaving them with plenty of flexibility if Dean does take a step back in his age 30 season. Between their devastating trio of pass rushers on the edge and the combination of Dean and Joey Porter Jr. on the outside, new defensive coordinator Patrick Graham should have everything he needs to shut down opposing passing games in 2026. And I definitely agree with the analysis here from Bill Barnwell on this front. And listen, man, getting Dean for what they got him for, I even think the Steelers were surprised that they got Jamel Dean for just $12.25 million per season. And, this is a player that, as Barnwell mentioned, is playing the best football of his career. I mean, if you want to believe PFF grading, an 80.6 PFF grade last year. He was one of the highest in the league in terms of ranking, in terms of missed tackle rate and passer rating, as Barnwell mentioned in his piece. But this guy's still playing at an extremely high level. He's one of the best man-to-man corners in the game. He's an extremely reliable tackler. He's a good blitzer if you want to do what's called cat blitzing, which is blitzing your outside corner on the outside. You can do all of that stuff with Jamel Dean. So I think that he is going to be a big-time addition for this club, and you got him at an insane value, in my opinion, for a player that is still this good. And then you combine that with the talents of Joey Porter Jr., who I also think is, a borderline top 10 corner in the National Football League today and one of the best pure man-to-man corners in the game. I mean, it could make this defense truly special to have these two guys that are as good as they are in man-to-man coverage. And it sounds like they're going to be playing a lot of off coverage pre-snap, but then you can kind of adjust into, press right before the snap, and play that way and play aggressively and, kind of show match coverage or zone and then go to a pure man look. Like the versatility and the things that they can do and, the pre and post-snap confusion that they can create because they have kind of the perimeter taken care of in terms of man-to-man coverage with Porter and Dean on the outside. It really should open up a lot of opportunities for this pass rush and Patrick Graham to really get creative in terms of how they plan to attack quarterbacks without having to give up too many big plays down the field. So fill in the blank for me down there in the comment section. The Steelers have a top blank secondary in the NFL this year with JPJ and Jamel Dean on the outside. Answer that question for me down there in the comment section. But before I get into the rest of today's video and we break down my pick for the best move for the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason, let's have a word from our presenting sponsor here at Prize Picks, which is America's #1 sports picks app. The finals are finally here, guys, and I'm going to be putting in a Prize Picks lineup for every game of Spurs versus the Knicks this year. The app is super easy to use. You just pick more than or less than on a few player stat projections and then lock in your lineup. And if basketball isn't your thing, they have a ton of other sports to choose from as well with a number of different stat projections in each of those sports. So truly customize your daily fantasy experience. You guys can take a look here at this future Prize Picks projection I have for next year's football season. I'm taking the more on passing yards for Aaron Rodgers, the more on receiving touchdowns for DK Metcalf, and the more on interceptions for Carson Schlesinger. This particular projection, you can put in $20 and win $105 with what Prize Picks calls a power play, where you have to get all three correct in order to cash in, but you get more winnings if you do so. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app today. And a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. Now, my pick for the best move that the Pittsburgh Steelers made this offseason is a coaching hiring. But no, I'm not going to pick head coach Mike McCarthy, even though I think that hiring could work out here in Pittsburgh. I'm going to go the defensive coordinator hire in Patrick Graham, who I have been a big-time admirer of for a long time, ever since he was the DC of the New York Giants, actually. And, that has extended into his time at the Las Vegas Raiders, where I think for multiple years he kept that defense afloat with very little defensive talent outside of Max Crosby. Now, let's be real, guys. Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin kind of put out a very outdated scheme over the last several years defensively here in Pittsburgh. And, the Steelers had enough talent on the defensive side of the ball to make up for some of that and still have very good defenses, but they have failed to get into that truly elite category on the defensive side of the ball in recent years, especially as T.J. Watt has begun to slow down just a little bit. And, Patrick Graham, what he's kind of known for is kind of the opposite, where he's always tailored his scheme to his talent, and he has a reputation for getting the most out of very, non-talented groups. And now he's heading into a situation here in Pittsburgh where he's going to have more talent than he has ever had as an NFL defensive coordinator and play caller. And, knowing some of the creative stuff in the different types of schemes that he has run throughout the course of his career as a play caller, he's run everything from the Seattle 3 to a Belichickian, man-heavy defense, which I do think we're going to see quite a bit of here in Pittsburgh, to almost like a Mike McDonald-style quarters and cover 6 heavy defense in Las Vegas for 1 year. He's run a lot of different stuff, and he's not somebody that says, I have my system and you have to fit into this role. It's like, no, we have the players that we have, and we're going to, make a system that, accentuates those players' talents while also exploits the weaknesses of that week's opponent. And I think that is how the best coaches in the game think about the game and game plan every single week. If this defense can be elite under Patrick Graham, I think Pittsburgh has a shot, a legitimate shot to, win games in January and put themselves in contention to maybe hoist a 7th Lombardi trophy. I'm not saying the Steelers are Super Bowl favorites heading into the year or anything like that, but Patrick Graham and his defensive creativity matched with the defensive talent that he has, I think gives this team a Super Bowl hopeful kind of designation heading into the season. And honestly, man, I think, I said it when Mike McCarthy was hired. I think the defensive coordinator hire is going to be just as important, if not even more important, than the head coaching hire here because of how much talent and how much money is being spent on the defensive side of the ball. You had to get the guy that could get the most out of this group if you want to accomplish your short-term goals of competing for a championship here in Pittsburgh. In my opinion, they got the right guy in Patrick Graham. We'll see if I'm right about that when the season arrives. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. What was your favorite move that the Steelers made this offseason? Whether it was trading for Michael Pittman Jr. or bringing back Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure that one's probably unpopular, but there's a bunch of moves that I think the Steelers made that were really good. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And speaking of Aaron Rodgers and people not liking the Steelers bringing him back, Bill Barnwell, not a fan of the Steelers bringing back the 42-year-old former 4-time NFL MVP, is what Barnwell had to say about the QB situation here in Pittsburgh. The Steelers gave Aaron Rodgers halfway through May to decide on his future before re-signing the legendary quarterback to a 1-year deal, reportedly giving him a big raise in the process. They weren't competitive with other veteran quarterbacks, including Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins, and Joe Flacco, all of whom might project to be better than Aaron Rodgers in 2026. Since winning his 4th MVP award in 2021, Rodgers is ranked 26th, 25th, and 23rd in total QBR across his 3 subsequent healthy seasons. At 42, the chances are far more likely that Rodgers is worse in 2026 than any sort of dramatic improvement. It would be one thing if the Steelers were waiting on peak Rodgers to return, but the entire organization was left on hold as a below-average starter spent months deciding whether he wanted to continue playing. And though Rodgers is obviously familiar with new head coach Mike McCarthy, it's worth remembering that Rodgers' performance improved dramatically in Green Bay after McCarthy left and was replaced by Matt LaFleur. Is there a quarterback of the future on this roster? The Steelers have taken a couple of low-likelihood shots. Will Howard was drafted in the 6th round last year, and though there's optimism about the former Ohio State product, he hasn't taken even a preseason snap as a pro because of injuries, let alone one in the regular season. The decision to draft Drew Aller in the 3rd round this year hints at the organization's real feelings about Howard, but the track record for quarterbacks with ideal NFL size and arm strength who aren't good enough to actually go in the 1st round of the draft is treacherous. It's possible that the Steelers unlock something in Aller, but I worry that we're going to be facing this same exact conundrum at quarterback in Pittsburgh next offseason. And listen, maybe Bill Barnwell's right about that. Like maybe Drew Aller and Will Howard don't impress behind the scenes this year, and Aaron Rodgers, sucks this year and he loses his arm strength, and it's just a wasted season at the quarterback position here in Pittsburgh. But first things first, okay? I think the claim that Kirk Cousins and Joe Flacco, he says there's a realistic possibility those guys play better than Rodgers this year, is absolutely ridiculous. Both of them played worse than Rodgers last year, and Rodgers has better weapons around him and hopefully better coaching around him this year. That is just absolutely asinine, especially because Kirk Cousins has actually lost his arm strength. He cannot throw the ball more than like 35 yards down the field with any sort of zip, and Joe Flacco is pretty much just as old as Aaron Rodgers is, but Rodgers was better than both of them last year, and I expect him to be better this year as well. Another point of disagreement for me is his assertion that it's far more likely that he's going to be worse this year than better. I mean, you look at the improvements made to the weaponry around Aaron Rodgers, and I think there's two ways where a quarterback can improve his production. The first way is if the quarterback himself improves, which obviously that's not going to happen. Aaron Rodgers is 42, soon to be 43. He's done all the development possible for him, obviously. If anything, he's going to regress in that category. But the other way is putting better weapons around the quarterback. And we've seen quarterbacks go to better situations and play much better. Look at Daniel Jones with the Colts last year. Tom Brady at the same age going from New England with no weapons to Tampa Bay with a ton of weapons, winning a Super Bowl at the same age that Aaron Rodgers is right now. By the way, Rodgers played better in Pittsburgh last year than Tom Brady did in his final season in New England at the same age. And, you bring in Michael Pittman Jr., you bring in Jeremy Bernard, one of the most pro-ready wide receivers in this year's class. Roman Wilson can actually play in the slot instead of being typecasted as an outside receiver in the Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith regime. Yeah, you get rid of Jonnu Smith, which means more reps and more opportunities for Pat Freiermuth, right? You bring in Rico Dowd, Riley Nowakowski as a fullback, a really good yak threat as a screen threat. I think that, there's a lot of improvement made here around Rodgers, so I think it's far more likely he's much better this season than he was last year, and frankly, he wasn't that bad last year if we're being completely honest. But the big question surrounding the quarterback position here in Pittsburgh, of course, is what long-term solutions, were available for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. Like all these people criticizing the Pittsburgh Steelers for making the decision they did to bring back Aaron Rodgers, what exactly were the slam dunk options that were available that were younger and quote-unquote long-term options that the Steelers could have went out and get? And in my opinion, the only one that really made, even a little bit of sense was Malik Willis. And let's not pretend that Malik Willis is a sure thing, right? He had 2 games, maybe a full game of snaps last year playing for Green Bay. And sure, he looked impressive in cold weather against, playoff caliber teams in the Ravens and the Chicago Bears last year, right? And he's got great arm strength. He's obviously massively physically talented, but he's still very unproven as an NFL starting quarterback. And I don't know if the Steelers wanted to go down that route with somebody that was that unproven and has never made the playoffs. I think they wanted someone with playoff experience as they try to win now, and they made the decision to go with Aaron Rodgers. But personally, I think the QB situation here in Pittsburgh could be a lot worse. That's just my personal opinion. I think right now the Steelers are setting themselves up, to have a win-now season with Aaron Rodgers, who you hope is going to play better. The defense is going to be better on the other side. The weapons around him will be better, all that different stuff. And hopefully that's enough to put this team in title contention and give them a shot. But then also you've got 2 young quarterbacks that you like, that are big, that have relatively strong arms. In Aller's case, a very strong arm, right? And you hope that one of those guys working behind Rodgers is going to be able to develop this year into the team's starting quarterback heading into 2027. And I think that's the plan here in Pittsburgh. We'll see if that plan ends up working out, not only this year with Rodgers at QB, but in the future with one of these younger QBs. And, we'll see what ends up happening next year. It's certainly possible they could go out and get a rookie quarterback next year in the draft. That's certainly still on the table, but given the options that the Steelers had this year, I think you could have done a lot worse than what the Steelers actually ended up doing heading into the 2026 season. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you appreciate our hard work here on Steelers Talk, we have provided you guys daily and free coverage of this football team every single day during the offseason. We're going to continue to do that the rest of this offseason leading into the season. So if you guys want to help out today's show and help out the channel, best way to do that is to boost that YouTube algorithm by clicking that thumbs up icon. All right, so now let's get into my pick for the worst move that the Steelers made this year, and that was how they handled the other guard spot this year. Now, I advocated for the team to try and bring back Isaac Seumalo on a 1-year, somewhat team-friendly deal. because, to keep that continuity on the offensive line heading into this year. But I understand why they didn't match, Arizona's contract offer. They gave him 3 years. They gave him over $10 million a season for somebody that is getting older, that is, almost in his mid-30s now. So I understand why the Steelers decided, this is the right time to let go of Seumalo. But with that said, right guard is a big question mark right now. They are moving Troy Fautano and Mason McCormick from the right side over to the left. And, right tackle is also a question mark right now, but you address that with a first-round pick. At right guard, though, you got Spencer Anderson, who's never been a full-time starting guard in his career. Brock Hoffman, same thing there. Both of them have shown some good things in their career, but they haven't shown that they are bona fide starter options. And then you got a third-round rookie here in Jennings Dunker, who I really like in terms of his long-term prospects, but this is a win-now season, right? You can't afford to have a major liability at any spot on a win-now season, especially when you have a non-mobile starting quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. So the Steelers are really banking on one of these three guys to establish themselves as a legitimate starting guard in this league. I think that there's reasonable expectations to think that all three of these guys could do that, but the question is, will any of them actually do it? It's kind of put the Steelers in a tough spot, in my opinion. But overall, if that's the worst thing that you did this offseason, I think you're looking at a pretty darn good offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Was it a perfect offseason? Did they make every move that I would have made? No. But generally speaking, if they were going to move forward, trying to win now, they did about as good as they possibly could have, in my opinion. And we'll see how it works out for them when we get into the season this year. So it's red pen time. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. What grade would you give the Steelers this offseason for all the moves that they've made? Give me an A, B, C, D, or F down there in the comments section. For me, I'll give them a B+. I don't think it was like oh my gosh, we're Super Bowl favorites now kind of offseason, but I certainly think they've done a good enough job to give themselves a reasonable chance to, take their team to the next level and be more competitive in January than they have been in recent years, and maybe, just maybe, put themselves in position to compete for a Super Bowl. All right, that'll be it for today's show, guys. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're providing in-depth Steelers content like this every single day on this channel, me providing my take and giving you guys the news on everything surrounding this football team. So if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you guys click that subscribe button. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. All right. First segment in the books. That was a longer segment than I thought it was going to end up being, Ponzi. But I mean, listen, man, we had
a couple tangents.
We had a lot to talk about there, man. We had a lot to talk about. I had to tell you why Bill Barnwell saying that Aaron Rodgers could be worse than Kirk Cousins and Joe Flacco this year. One of the worst takes I've seen all offseason, frankly.
And we're coworkers with Brett Alper here. And he has some bad takes. That's probably worse than any of his takes.
That's tough, man. Kirk Cousins can't throw it down the field anymore. Aaron Rodgers clearly can. I think he has the longest air yards throw of any quarterback in like the last, 8 years? Something like that with that 70-yard Hail Mary. He's still got a rifle, man. And Kirk Cousins, it's like, ugh. At this point, it's like
it's laboring to even throw.
Like, dude, you watch Kirk Cousins play, and, it takes forever for the ball to get to the receiver. Forever. And we're saying Aaron Rodgers is going to be worse than that guy? What are we talking about here, man? That just goes to show you that the Rodgers hate at ESPN is just honestly, out of control.
It's one of those things where Rodgers is going to get a lot of flack just because he's Aaron Rodgers. He's one of the quarterbacks that's more decisive in the media, divisive in the media, where a lot of people just don't like him because he's Aaron Rodgers. But dude, can we just cut out, chill back a little bit on the hate of Rodgers? Kirk Cousins, I'm almost certain you sitting at home can throw further than Kirk Cousins.
Well, I think Mina Kimes ranked him behind Geno Smith. Yeah, I think Mina Kimes ranked Rodgers the 30th overall quarterback, which is just
just a different take.
Man. What? I think she ranked Fernando Mendoza ahead of Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't even played a down. I don't get it, man. You can say, and listen, is Rodgers a top 10 quarterback in the league still? Is he still somebody capable of winning an NFL MVP? I would say no. I think the limitations he has with his mobility, sure, he's got limitations as a quarterback. I would put him probably around the 20th overall quarterback in the league. But guess what? That's around where I have Jalen Hurts. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, but Jalen Hurts, man, he had to throw the ball 16 times a game during that Super Bowl season, and he's never actually operated like a pro-style offense. It's all been like shotgun-heavy spread-style shit. And it was like the offense that year that they won the Super Bowl was Saquon Barkley. Like, Jalen Hurts has limitations as a quarterback. He's still a good starting quarterback, right? And with the proper team around him, he was able to win a Super Bowl. So I think if the Steelers, obviously everything needs to go right for this team around Rodgers to win a Super Bowl with the 20th best quarterback in the game. You got to have an elite defense. You got to have the weapons around him. Not only stay healthy but really gel with Rodgers. The offensive line, you're going to have to find a group that really gels together this year. The run game's going to have to be solid to support Rodgers. Like everything, like the coaching staff needs to be good in year one. Like everything needs to go right this year for the team to realistically win a Super Bowl. But the possibility is still there, right, with a guy like Rodgers.
And I don't know, man. I feel like if you put like you were talking about Hurts earlier, and not to dog on Jalen Hurts more. Yeah, obviously, they're the Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's had success in this league.
He's been very clutch. I will give him that. He's very, very good in the clutch. But guess what? So is Rodgers.
It's just one of those things where it's like you can't play Hurts in every offense. I feel like if you give Rodgers like a fine enough time, and we're not talking about like the Ravens where they do read option. Obviously, he's not going to do that. Although in our Madden sim he does. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's just like. He adapts well to a lot of these offenses just because he's a veteran. He's smart. He's cerebral. He knows where to go. And I understand people are going to say he's a check down merchant. Steelers had no one else to throw to. Get your playmakers in space last season, and that was their whole game plan. Now they have weapons. Let's see him push the ball down the field.
Yeah, by the way, that's one of the calling cards of Mike McCarthy. He loves to throw the ball into those seams against cover 3, and he likes to have that choice route for the slot receiver on the 9-8-9 concepts.
It was theorized. Mike Tomlin just told his offensive coordinators to not go over the middle of the field.
Yep. Because he didn't want interceptions.
Exactly.
He didn't want mistakes because most interceptions are thrown over the middle of the field. So. Listen, man, I think the hate has gone overblown here. But who's might be an underrated piece of this offense this year? Might be a nice weapon for Rodgers in certain moments. Riley Nowakowski, the fullback and tight end out of Indiana. I think he's a huge upgrade over Connor Heyward in that H-back kind of fullback type of role. Can't wait to break him down here in just a second. But again, you guys can use hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get on the Q&A if you have a question or a concern or comment that you want us to put on the mailbag here today. My guy Jagger with a 5 says, do you think there's a chance they trade Alex Highsmith before the season? There's always a chance, but I don't think they're going to because you got to realize what the goal of the team is this season. The goal is to try and compete for a championship. And one of the big strengths of this team is its edge rusher trio, right? And you can afford to keep all 3 on the team this year. So why not? Like if the goal is to try and push for a championship this year, actually push for a championship. Like the time for trading pieces and getting draft picks for them, it's over. All right, it's over. Like you should have traded T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Cam Heyward, Jalen Ramsey, cut Patrick Queen, done all this different stuff, brought in Malik Willis. Like you should have, like the time to decide to rebuild was February, March. All right, that's not what they're doing. Right, we are now in fucking June. It is not the time to be like, you know what? It's time to rebuild. Let's go get a pick right now. Because guess what? You trade Alex Highsmith for a pick right now, you're not even going to be able to use it until next offseason anyway. You can keep him for this entire season, trade him next year, and still probably get around the same draft pick you would have gotten for him in a trade right now. So why not keep Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig's contract and his cap hit this year is not going to be very high. It might even go down. If the Steelers really want to do that, they can do that. Because with this new contract extension, they can move that $3.6 million that he was already, accounted for in his final year of his rookie contract around. So it's going to be a low cap hit this year. They can keep all 3 of these guys. And by the way, still pay Joey Porter Jr. They can still get that deal done and still have enough cap space. All right. So if you can keep these players, you should keep these players in a win-now season, which is what the Steelers are in. So that is my perspective on it. Trade them next offseason. $2 from Bernard says, I think Robert Tonyan should be the tight end 3. We'll see if they even sign him. I don't think they've signed him, right? You haven't seen anything? He did work out today. He's got a connection with Rodgers, but he hasn't been a starter in a long time, since 2023, and he had a really bad season in 2023. He hasn't even been and then in 2022, he dealt with some injuries, in Rodgers' final season there in Green Bay, but then, his last good season, really his only good season as a starting tight end, Ponzi, was in 2021 in Rodgers' final MVP season where he caught 11 touchdowns. So I don't think that you're going to get even close to that, even if he is on the team, right? And I think he'd be more competition for like J.J. Galbraith and Lake McCree, the two UDFAs in this room. The three guys we know are making the team are Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, and Riley Nowakowski, who we're going to talk about here in a second. They might keep a fourth tight end if one earns the job. Maybe that's Tanyan. Maybe that's Lake McCree. We'll see. I'm not opposed to adding him, though, Ponzi. Like, he's got a connection with Rodgers, veteran that can provide some legitimate competition inside that room for the younger guys like Lake McCree and J.J. Galbraith and those guys. So I wouldn't mind bringing him in at all. Then Rats says, I say ride this year out with all three of them, and then next offseason trade the worst of Highsmith and TJ, then promote Sawyer to the third outside line. This is exactly what the plan is, okay? Or at least it should be. I completely agree. It's exactly what they should do because it's honestly the perfect timing to let go of Alex Highsmith next year. Now, there is a scenario here where Alex Highsmith is the best edge rusher on this team this year. TJ Watt continues his regression, and, TJ is the one they try and move next year. That is still a possibility, and then they give Highsmith the big extension. That could happen. But it's gonna. I mean, multiple dominoes are gonna have to fall for that to happen. It would take
a lot.
Yeah, it would have to take a stellar season from Highsmith, a terrible season from Watt, and a team willing to still trade for Watt. Those three things all happening, probably pretty low.
And like the whole thing is that if Highsmith does have that incredible season, more reason to trade him. Get better trade value.
Yeah, I mean, like let's say TJ gets 17 sacks this year, Highsmith gets 15. You're keeping TJ in that case. Like you're trading Highsmith, but coming off a 15-sack season, he's definitely fetching a second without a question. All right, the edge rusher's too important.
There's a good question.
Position.
Maybe someone does it. Even get like a late first pick swap or a first
round
pick swap.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a team that is like a good football team that just needs like a really good number 2 edge rusher to kind of finish their squad, I could see a late first, especially if Highsmith has that kind of a season. I could see that, but he is approaching 30, right? And that's kind of the benchmark for these teams where their trade value starts to go down a little bit. So you got to have the production to be able to get a high draft pick. $5 from Marco Man says, I believe that Herbig versus Verse will be a big debate in the AFC North in the coming years. Both are high producers and top of the league in some areas. Yeah, I mean, they're both very good players. Very good players. Very good young players. And Verse obviously will be up for his extension next year, and he'll get more just because that's the way the league works. And I think once we see Jared Verse's contract and what he gets next year, I think it's going to be upwards of $30 million. We're going to be looking at this Herbig deal next offseason and saying, we got a deal on Nick Herbig. I really believe that. What's that? Yeah, Issa says this deal will be a steal in 3 years, just like the Alex Highsmith deal was, right? When we got the extension done with Alex, it was a deal at the time, to be fair. Like, I remember doing that video and being like, man, this is a really good deal for a guy as good as Alex Highsmith. But, later on down the road, we look back at that contract now and we're like, oh my gosh, he's one of the best value contracts at any position in the league. So, we'll see if Nick Herbig can bud into like a superstar edge rusher during his contract. It'll definitely be a steal. $5 again from Isaha says, could we extend Darnell or even Highsmith before Joey? Joey is the only player that isn't market value. More negotiating. It will get done, though, 100%. I don't think they'll extend Highsmith, okay? They technically can, but they shouldn't, okay? Like, it just doesn't really make sense to pay TJ, Herbig, and Highsmith big money when all three of them have big cap hits, okay? That's the thing. It doesn't make sense to pay 3 edge rushers big-time money against the cap. You can do it with cash spending, which is what they're going to do this year, but Herbig's cap hit's going to be low. Next year, Herbig's cap hit is going to go up a lot, so that's why you got to trade Highsmith. So, Highsmith will not get extended, in my opinion, for sure. They could extend Darnell before Joey, just because Joey's situation is a bit more tricky, because I do think that he views himself as an elite corner. So I think he's asking for a minimum $30 million a season. Derek Stingley Jr.'s contract. I think that's what he's asking for. I don't think the Steelers are going to offer him that, though. So this might take a little bit more time. With Darnell, he has attended all of OTAs. He's attended mandatory minicamp. He's practicing, all that different stuff. So, and tight end, you don't have to spend as much money, right? So I could see Darnell, his deal getting done before Joey's. We'll see what ends up happening here, but obviously it's good to have the Boswell and Herbig deals done at this point. But I do agree with you, Isaha, that before the season, the JPJ contract will be done 100%. It's just a matter of what the dollar figure looks like. $2 in Bernard says A-Rod is above average. I mean, you could certainly make the case. I would say he's about average. Because there's certain areas where he is above average. Bernard, he's got, I think, above average arm talent. I think he has above average football IQ. I think he's below average in certain things. He's definitely below average in mobility and out-of-structure playmaking ability. That's a big one right there, right? Because, the best quarterbacks in the league are the ones that can win from within structure and out of structure, all right? Those are the guys that can elevate teams. A-Rod can't do both of those things, right? He's good in structure, not so good out of structure. And then I also think maybe the downfield accuracy over the last few years hasn't been quite as good. So I think when you put that together and you compare him to the rest of the quarterbacks in this league, and there's a lot of good quarterbacks in this league, guys. Like there's probably 18 quarterbacks that the fan bases think they have a top 10 QB for. Like that's how many good quarterbacks are in this league. There's very few truly elite ones, but there's a lot of good to solid quarterbacks in this league. So I think A-Rod is around the 20th best quarterback in the game, give or take 2 or 3 spots. All right, that's probably where I'm at with A-Rod. $2 from Bernard again says ESPN needs to get their Vax card. That's good, Bernard. That's good. $5 from Gray Marrow says, how much do you think Darnell and Joey's extensions could be with Herbig getting $25 million per year? Love the deal and looking forward to the season. Me too, Gray Marrow. In terms of Darnell, could be something close to what Pat Freiermuth got a couple years ago. Borderline top 10 level contract. Because the thing about Darnell is he's not a complete player. Kind of like how Pat's not necessarily a complete player. He's not George Kittle, right? There's very few tight ends in this league that does everything well, like George does. But Darnell does what he does extremely well, and he is a huge X factor for this team, right? Like when he got injured last year, people don't talk enough about how big the Darnell Washington injury was for this offense last year. Because he was that little check flat type of guy. Not to mention, he gives you pretty much another offensive lineman in the run game.
That can catch.
That can catch and run after the catch and run people over. In the AFC North, that is a huge advantage.
I've always been on record saying if you put Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington and combine them into one player, top 5 tight end.
Yeah.
So it's
absolutely.
So
might be the best tight end in the game.
Yeah, I mean
to have Darnell's size and Pat's receiving ability. That would be the best. That would be the best tight end in the game.
And so, the fact that the Steelers kind of have those 2 tight ends that match each other's weaknesses, I really think that's a really good idea to have them here for the long term.
Yeah, can we look at the highest paid tight ends? Can you grab that for me?
Yeah, I can grab it. Just give me a second.
Yep, all good. But Pat is right. I believe he's right on the precipice of the top 10. I think he is inside the top 10. I think he's 10th, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. It might be 9th, but something along that range. Now, maybe Darnell ends up getting closer to top 5 level money, but there's not a huge difference between the 6th highest paid tight end and the 10th highest paid tight end. So I think that deal gets done. Darnell doesn't seem too worried that it is going to get done. He's been at all of the OTAs and all that different stuff. So I could see Darnell getting it done. What was it? What is Pat's deal per year? 10? Got it. So he's $12 million a season. So I think it'll be around there. Maybe up to 15. What would 15 put him at? Okay, cool. We're going to put up the highest paid tight ends graphic here in just a second here, so you guys can just see what the tight end market looks like. But with Darnell providing the X factor to this offense that he does, I think I would be shocked if the Pittsburgh Steelers don't extend him at some point. So if he made 13, I think he ends up getting more than Mark Andrews. And I honestly think he probably gets, David Njoku's released. Oh, okay. So listen, man, like Kyle Pitts got 15. I think somewhere between 13 and 15 is probably what Darnell gets, I'd say. He's not in the Kittle and McBride territory, in my opinion. But I do think the Steelers are going to want to, make sure he's here. And I think that he's a big part of this offense. So that's what I would say. Somewhere in that 13 to 15 range, hopefully on the lower end of that. Maybe close to what Mark Andrews got is probably what I would say. $2 from Bernard. Oh, and then when it comes to Joey, yeah, we'll go back to that one here. I think what it's going to be is somewhere between 26 and 28 million per season. And that would put him in the top 5 among corners, okay? The top 3 are all making 30 plus. That would be McDuffie, that would be Sauce Gardner, and that would be Derek Stingley, all making 30 plus. And I think that's what Joey wants, but I also think the Steelers have enough depth to be able to go to the negotiating table and not budge off their number. And Joey is not going to not play, all right? He's just not. So I think it'll get to a point, I don't know if that's during training camp, I don't know if that's just before training camp, where he's like, man, I got to get myself paid here. It's still going to pay him top 5 money, and I think that he'll be able to say, I'm a top 5 paid corner and all this different stuff. But I think it'll be, if I had to guess, $27 million a season, which is I think in 2 or 3 years, that could be a very good contract for Joey Porter Jr. So we'll see what ends up happening there. $2 from Bernard says Cousins and Flacco might not start this year, LOL. Yep. I think Cousins will start the year as a starter. Flacco will not. So $2 from Bernard says, what does QBR mean? That's a stat. It's an algorithm based on normal game stats that they put into a formula, spits out a number, and it's ESPN's version of passer rating, which is different. Passer rating is a different formula to QBR. And last year, so I think he was 23rd in QBR last year, if I'm not mistaken, among quarterbacks. He was 14th in passer rating, and he was 11th among quarterbacks with at least 300 pass attempts. So passer rating, QBR are a lot different, and QBR puts a lot more into the rushing element and running with the football than passer rating does, obviously, because it's – yeah, so he was 23rd in QBR last year, but he was 11th in passer rating among quarterbacks with at least 300 pass attempts. So, this is kind of what I'm talking about, Bernard, where if you're factoring in rushing yards and rushing production, then, I think – Aaron Rodgers is probably around the 20th best quarterback in the league in a vacuum, because there's a lot of these quarterbacks nowadays, Ponzi, that can, extend plays with their legs and make plays out of structure, out of the pocket and scramble. Aaron Rodgers really can't do that at this point. So, the margin for error for him to win within structure is smaller, which is exactly why, Ponzi, I don't blame him for playing the way that he did last year with the weapons that he had. His 2 options were hold the ball, hoping that one of these bad receivers were going to get open versus man coverage, which was a bad bet last year, or get the ball out in space to a playmaker and hope they make a play for him. He made the right decision with the football most of the time, and now that he's got better weapons around him, I expect him to do the same, and this year, the right decision is going to mean throwing the ball down the field more. So I think his QBR will be higher this year, by the way. $2 from Bernard says, A-Rod had Adams and Wilson, but the Jets suck. LOL. Yeah, man, people want to talk about, when I talk about Aaron Rodgers not having enough weaponry in Green Bay in 2022 and then in Pittsburgh last year, everyone always points to he had Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson in New York. Guess what? He didn't have anything fucking else that year. The coaching staff was in complete disarray. The ownership was firing people and demoting people left and right. There was no continuity there. The offensive line was terrible. They were 31st in run game that year. All right, they didn't have any good tight ends. At least not that I remember. I don't think they did. And then their defense was terrible. They still had Sauce Gardner and Quinn Williams. Guess what? They were 30th in the league in defense after Saleh was fired. That's how bad that group was. And by the way, their kicking game, 31st in made field goal percentage. They lost multiple games that year that Aaron Rodgers, frankly, led them to victories, or should have been victories, because the kicker couldn't make a fucking field goal in clutch time. So, sure, he had good receivers in New York in 2024. Guess what? He didn't have anything else. It was the exact opposite of last year. Last year, he arguably had everything except the receiver weapons. And I would say an elite defense. The defense underperformed last year, right? But he had the solid, surrounding cast around him. They ran the ball okay last year, all that different stuff. This is the best situation Rodgers has been in since 2021 when he won his last MVP. Now, I don't think he's capable of winning another MVP. All right, maybe he is, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but personally, I don't think he's capable of doing that, no matter what the surrounding cast looks like. But I think he can still be a very functional game manager that, paired with a great defense and really good scheme and weapons around him, can still be a quarterback that can win games in the playoffs and put you in contention to win a championship. But you got to have the surrounding cast around him, and we didn't have that last year. So hopefully it's good enough this year. $7 from Rats says TJ will have a bounce-back year if our nose tackle play improves and stop the double teams and or chipping help, especially if the other side gets to the QB a lot. I definitely agree with you, Rats. I think that he will have a bounce-back season. I think I said earlier today, I think he gets at least 13 sacks. I could see it getting up to like 17. Which would be a bounce-back season for a guy that only had 7 last year. And I do think the nose tackle play will be better. Sebastian Joseph Day, one of the best run-stuffing nose tackles in the game, in my opinion. Very, very good at taking on double teams. So that should fix that issue. The chipping is still going to happen. I think we'll see if teams adjust the way they play T.J. Watt, just because he did regress last year from a production standpoint, so maybe they don't put as much chip attention on him. And if that happens, he gets more one-on-ones, let TJ eat, man. Let him eat. And then when you combine that with the NASCAR packages and the stunts and loots in the creative ways they're going to use him and his skill set, I think you're right. He will have a bounce-back season this year. Next one from Rats says, our edge rushers should, as a whole, be better if our secondary can buy them a little more time to get home. I anticipate they will. I agree with you. I think that this team is much more built to play more man coverage, and I think they'll play a lot of match coverage as well, especially on early downs. I think that will definitely provide this team time and this pass rush time to get home. Is that it for the Super Chats right now? Great. All right, we still got over 300 people watching live. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on our Tuesday live show. It's time for our next segment here, guys, and it's time to meet our next fullback here in Pittsburgh, somebody that I think has a chance to maybe be the best fullback in football someday. Indiana product and national champion Riley Nowakowski. Let's get into it right now. Welcome into Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today it's time to meet national champion, fullback and tight end out of Indiana, and Steelers rookie, Riley Nowakowski. I'm really excited to see what this guy can be here in Pittsburgh. I think he's got the skill set to maybe be the best fullback in the sport one day. Can't wait to talk about what he brings to the table here coming up here on today's show. But before we get into the scouting report, the pros and the cons of Mr. Nowakowski, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon to welcome him to the Steel City. All right, so let's kick off today's show here, as always, with all of our rookie player profiles with the pros. And I think there's a lot to like with Riley Nowakowski. He's very well built to be specifically a fullback, all right? The play strength is awesome for a guy of his size, whether it's contact balance as a runner, whether it's, the lead blocking. He's going to be able to do that stuff, and he's very well built, okay? Very sturdy frame, and he uses that and weaponizes that out in space as a lead blocker, which is specifically why I think that he can be an excellent fullback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He didn't play a ton of fullback in college. We'll talk about that in his cons, but his skill set, when you watch him on film, when he's out there lead blocking for a running back, it's awesome film. It really is, man. So really excited to see him in that kind of role. And he's really a solid athlete, paired with that great strength and size for how stout he is. He's very well built. He moves pretty darn well, man. You take a look at his relative athletic score here, which is just below a 7. But in terms of the speed metrics there, according to compared to the rest of his tight ends, he was in the elite green category in everything. So, definitely somebody that can get going and can scoot for a tight end. And he pairs, that strength and speed into some really impressive runs after the catch. Now, he was pretty much just a screen threat for the Indiana Hoosiers, and that was his role, but he was damn good at that role, man. He had 10 broken tackles last year on just 32 catches. That is a ridiculous broken tackle rate that you don't really see from anybody. Running backs, tight ends, receivers, anybody. That is insane. And, you get blockers in front of this guy. He's got good vision. He can get going quickly with good acceleration. He's got good long speed for a tight end. Like, this guy's a problem in the passing game as a screen threat, and I think, Mike McCarthy saw that and he's like, I can use that in my offense quite a bit here. And he's also got really reliable hands. He hasn't dropped a pass since 2023. So for a fullback, tight end type, more of a blocker as well, to be this reliable with his hands and to rely on him that much. Aaron Rodgers, of course, we know loves to throw those little screen passes, and that's going to be a part of this offense again this year. Nowakowski's going to add to that quite a bit here, in my opinion, as a kind of short level receiving threat in the passing game when they do go to their 2 running back sets and they want to go into the I formation from time to time. So definitely excited about what he brings to the table here in Pittsburgh. But coming up here, I will talk about some of the cons that Riley Nowakowski brings to the table here, some of the limitations, and then I will talk about my year 1 expectations for his role here in Pittsburgh. But before we get into all of that, let's have a word from our sponsor today here at Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. The finals are finally here, guys, and I'm going to be putting in a Prize Picks lineup for every game of Spurs versus Knicks this season. The app is super easy to use. You just pick more than or less than on a few player stat projections and then lock in your lineup. And if basketball isn't your thing, they have a ton of other sports to choose from as well, with a number of different stat projections in each of those sports to truly customize your daily fantasy lineups. You guys can take a look here at this projection that I have looking at the next year's football season. You can take the more on passing yards for quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, the more on receiving touchdowns for receivers like DK Metcalf, and in this particular projection, I'm taking the more on interceptions for Carson Schlesinger. So if you guys want to get this projection in right now on the Prize Picks app, you guys put in $20, you can win $105 back if you get all 3 correct in what Prize Picks calls a power play. So join the fun today. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app, and a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring Steelers Talk. All right, so now let's get into the cons with Riley Nowakowski, starting with the sheer size and length for a tight end. All right, he's anything but Darnell Washington. He's more of like a bowling ball. All right, he's shorter, he's more stout, and the play strength that he plays with at that size is really impressive. It's just if you're going to be asking him to line up in line and take on like an edge rusher or something like that, he's just not built to win those kinds of matchups, right? So he really has to be a specialist at the NFL level because of the size profile that he has. He has to play pretty much exclusively H-back or fullback at the NFL level, in my opinion. The good news is, as we talked about in the pros, he's perfectly built to play that role at a super duper high level. So, even though he does have limitations in terms of the role that he would be playing in the NFL, he's going to be able to play that role at an exceptionally high level really right away, in my opinion. Another thing, too, because he does project to be a fullback at the NFL level, one of the cons on his profile is he has less than 30 fullback snaps in college. And the reason for that? Not a lot of teams use a fullback, including the Indiana Hoosiers last year, right? So, I'm sure if they still ran the I formation in college football, he would have played fullback because that's kind of the body type that he has. But instead, he kind of played a wing tight end, and he was that screen threat for the Hoosiers last year to get them some easy yards. But now going into the NFL, where there is more 2 running back sets, especially for an offensive play caller like Mike McCarthy, who likes to run 2 running back sets and has really dove into using a fullback throughout his NFL play calling career. I think that makes a lot of sense for him. And then, maybe another con for him is that he's a bit of an older prospect. Now, that doesn't worry me as much because I do think he's going to be able to fill his role at a really high level immediately, which is exactly what you're looking for somebody that is heading into the league at 24 years of age. But I project Nowakowski as a high-end fullback option in the NFL on day one. I think he's a top 5 fullback in this league immediately. He might even be top 3. He's got the upside to be the best fullback in football. with the way that he can not only block but also be a threat in the screen game. Now, is he going to be like Kyle Juszczyk, where he's like a legitimate like downfield receiving threat? Probably not, but I think Nowakowski, with his skill set, and if a team can use him in the right way, he can be a legitimate piece to an NFL offense, and I'm hoping that Mike McCarthy is going to use him in that kind of role here in year one. I think he could become a favorite of quarterback Aaron Rodgers because he can just be an easy button for him with a little quick dump off, and he can make guys miss. He can run over people, great contact balance to break tackles, on good speed to be able to finish plays. So really like what he brings to this offense specifically, and this is definitely an upgrade over what we had at this position in Connor Heyward last year. Now, Connor, I think did his best and all that different stuff. I just think he was more limited as an athlete compared to Nowakowski, and you're trading out an okay fullback / H-back for maybe the best player at that specific role in the National Football League, in my opinion. So, I think that is definitely worthwhile, but the question is, was it worth a 5th-round selection when there were a lot of good players at definitely more impactful positions still available? Now, at this point, they've already taken Jeremy Bernard and Caden Weegan at the wide receiver position, so maybe they wouldn't have gone out and got Kevin Coleman and Deion Burks and some of these good receivers that were still available. But, you could have gotten a linebacker in Harold Perkins Jr. or Jack Kelly. They like both of those guys. There is a good nose tackle still available in Tim Keenan that you could have brought in as well. There were options outside of drafting a fullback, and you probably could have gotten Nowakowski later, but it's very clear, guys, that the Pittsburgh Steelers, they felt like they were playing with house money with how many picks that they had, and they wanted to get elite players in Caden Weegan and Riley Nowakowski in very specialized roles that they feel like can play a big role inside the Steelers offense and special teams units heading into the season. So that's why they end up spending this pick on him. But what say you guys? Was Riley Nowakowski as a high-end fullback worth the pick that Pittsburgh spent on him? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. I think there's a case to be made for both sides, but let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. And, of course, today was our latest entry in our Steelers Rookie Profile Series, where we break down the scouting reports, the pros and the cons, and the expectations of every single Steelers rookie that the Steelers drafted this year. We have a bunch of them already up on the channel. We're going in order here. So our last one was Caden Weegan in round 4. So if you guys want to check that one out, I'll put the chip to that one in the top right if you want to check out our video on him and whether or not he was worth that 4th-round selection. But that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. We still got 3 more rookies to talk about in our player profile series, the later round rookies here, and Rubio and Spears Jennings and, of course, Heidenreich. So if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. All right, we got one more segment to get to here, guys, and then we'll get into our Madden stream versus the Buccaneers. I'm guessing we have enough questions. We've gotten a ton of Super Chat questions here. What's that? Great. Okay, so I think we're good to just go right into the mailbag here, guys, and, of course, if you've been putting in a super chat and we haven't gotten to it yet, it's either going to show up in the mailbag or we're going to hit it after, okay? So our promise to you guys is we discuss and we talk about every single super chat that comes in. So if you haven't seen your super chat yet, it is coming up here. But without further ado, let's get into our next segment of the day before our next Madden sim. Of course, it's my favorite segment of the week, answering your questions on the Pittsburgh Steelers on this week's Steelers Talk Mailbag. Welcome into Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today it's my favorite segment of the week, the Steelers Talk Mailbag, where I'm answering your questions on everything regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers after a mandatory minicamp was held this week in Southside Pittsburgh. Now, before we get into your questions here, I'm going to invite you guys to join the most interactive Steelers fan community anywhere here on YouTube. At least according to the subscriber metrics, we are the only individually run Steelers news program with over 100,000 subscribers, and we're not going knocking right on the door of 120,000. And I think the reason why we have such a big following here on Steelers Talk is because we provide you guys free and informative Steelers content every day, but we also have interactive content like our interactive polls on our community tab that we put out every day. We go live twice a week to talk about Steelers football. We go live for every single Steelers game with our live watch parties. You can get everything that you need, news and rumors related, for the Pittsburgh Steelers with a community that truly bleeds black and gold here at Steelers Talk. So if you guys want to join us here and help us get to 120,000 subscribers, click that subscribe button right now. All right, so we got one from Rats. It says, TJ will have a bounce-back year if our nose tackle play improves and stop the double teams and or chipping help, especially if the other side gets to the QB a lot. I completely agree. I think TJ is going to have a bounce-back season this year. I don't know if he's going to reach, the 20-plus sack territory ever again. Just because he has lost a little bit of a step physically, all right? That's just what happens when you get past 30, okay? But still a very good player, still one of the elite run defenders in the game at the position, in my opinion, and he can still get after the quarterback. And I think especially with the NASCAR packages that they're going to run this year with Herbig and Highsmith also on the field, they're going to be using him more on stunts and loops and games. I think Patrick Graham will be very creative in the way that he deploys TJ Watt as a weapon. And I do think the nose tackle play will be better and the run defense will be better this year with Sebastian Joseph Day coming in. I think Patrick Graham will give the linebacking group more defined roles in the run fits. Terrell Austin, Mike Tomlin famously didn't do that. They wanted their linebackers to kind of read how the defensive line was holding up and then trigger, and it just made it more complicated than it needed to be. So I think that the run defense will be a lot better this year. It will lead to more of those passing situations where they can pin their ears back and, these edge rushers can get after it. So I do think TJ will have a bounce-back season. I'm expecting somewhere between 13 and 17 sacks is probably something that is doable for TJ Watt. $5 from Jagger says, do you think there's any chance they trade Alex Highsmith before the season? No, I don't think so. This is a win-now season for Pittsburgh. Whether fans think this team can win a Super Bowl or contend for a Super Bowl or not, the team clearly feels like they can. You don't bring back a 42-year-old NFL quarterback and Aaron Rodgers if you think that. You don't trade for a 28-year-old receiver and give him a 3-year extension to Michael Pittman Jr. You don't keep Jalen Ramsey and Cam Heyward and Patrick Queen and all these veterans around if you don't think you are ready to compete right now. So because of that, and because you can keep T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig all on the same team, all at the same time, they should. Frankly, I mean, one of the biggest strengths of this team and this defense is the three-headed monster they have at outside linebacker. And while they still have Nick Herbig on a small cap hit before, it starts jumping up pretty high next year with his new contract extension, you might as well, ride it out with Alex Highsmith here. And then next offseason, it's the perfect time to let him go, right? He's going to be turning 30 during the 2027 season. He's going into a contract year where he's going to want to get paid a lot of money probably in an extension. And, it's the perfect time to go get a second or third round pick probably for Alex Highsmith while Nick Herbig, assumes that number 2 edge rusher role. Also, if you trade Alex Highsmith for a pick right now, it's going to be in the same draft as if you trade him next offseason, right? So you might as well keep Alex for another season if you can, which the Steelers can. So that's where I'm at with that situation. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Will TJ Watt bounce back this season? Give me a yes or no down there in the comment section. I think that he will, especially relative to his only 7-sack performance in 2025. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And while you guys are typing yes or no, I want to tell you about our presenting sponsor here on Steelers Talk, which you guys know, of course, is Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. The finals are here, and I'm going to be putting in a Prize Picks lineup for every game of Spurs versus Knicks this finals. And the app is super easy to use, guys. You just pick more than or less than on a few player stat projections and then lock in your lineup. And if basketball isn't your thing, they have a ton of other sports to choose from as well, with a number of different stat projections in each of those sports to truly customize your daily fantasy experience. This is an example of what you're going to see here with a Prize Picks projection. This is for a future projection for next year's football season, taking the more on passing yards for Aaron Rodgers, the more on receiving touchdowns for DK Metcalf, and the more on interceptions for Carson Schlesinger. And if I press power play here, which I am here, that means I have to get all 3 correct to get my money. But if I do so, then I get more? So for this particular projection, you put in a $20 entry fee, you get $105 back from our friends at PrizePicks. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with PrizePicks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app, and a big thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring Steelers Talk. $5 here from Lost Name says, does the Nick Herbig deal, if Alex isn't traded, affect Jack Sawyer's field time and development? Yes, it does, at least for this year. Obviously, if they would have traded Herbig or traded Highsmith this year, Sawyer would have assumed that number 3 edge rusher role and would have played a lot more than he will now that they're going to keep Watt, Highsmith, and Herbig on the same team for another season. So, Sawyer, when everyone's healthy, he's going to get 10 or less snaps in a game. Is going to be what it is. But if there's an injury, he will assume that third edge rusher role and play more. And, injuries happen. I mean, T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith have been injured every year in some capacity the last several seasons. Nick Herbig has dealt with some injuries. So, Sawyer will have his chances throughout the year to be a designated pass rusher that comes in and rotates in. But, hopefully, the top 3 guys can stay healthy for as long as possible. And then when you trade Highsmith next offseason, that means Sawyer's going to have the opportunity to be that number 3 designated pass rusher. And I also think the Steelers will probably draft another edge rusher next offseason in the 2027 NFL draft, probably in the middle rounds, to develop, kind of like they did with Jack Sawyer, to compete with Sawyer as well. So, I think that's kind of where they're at with Jack Sawyer, and I think that's probably, Sawyer's ceiling is a very good rotational third edge rusher. That's pretty stout against the run, can get after the quarterback a little bit, smart player, competitive guy, great locker room dude. I think that's a great role for him, and I see that very much in his future here in Pittsburgh. $5 from Marco Man. Says, I believe that Herbig versus Verse will be a big debate in the AFC North in the coming years. Both are high producers and the top of the league in certain areas. Yeah, man, I think both of them are very young, very good football players, man. And Verse is a bull in a china shop where, he is such a powerful player and converts speed to power as well as pretty much anybody in the game. And then Herbig is such a good true speed rusher with great finesse that can win in a number of different ways. So they're slightly different, but the production was very similar for both of them last year, which is more impressive for Herbig because he wasn't on the field as much. But I think that, Verse is probably going to end up getting more money when he's extension eligible coming up here in Cleveland. But obviously that's just what happens, later on. If a player signs after a certain player and they're similarly productive, the second player is going to get more money. That's just the way it works. So I think at the end of the day here, we could be looking at Herbig's contract versus Verse's and saying, man, the Steelers got a deal for a guy of a similar caliber for $25 million per season. So definitely like the deal that the Steelers made for Nick Herbig here this week. And make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you are a real one. The real ones know that clicking that thumbs up icon helps us out. And it really does a great job boosting that YouTube algorithm. And it's going to tell the YouTube algorithm to push this video out to other Steelers fans like yourselves that love Steelers football and haven't yet encountered our channel. So if you guys want to help us out, click that thumbs up icon. And next question here coming in from Isaha Ballard. It says, could we extend Darnell or even Highsmith before Joey Porter Jr.? Joey is the only player that isn't market value. More negotiating. It will get done, though, 100%. Yeah, man, I think Joey, his situation is a little bit different because I think he views himself as an elite corner, and he's going to want to get paid like a top 3 corner, top 4 corner in the game. And the top 3 guys, they make $30 million plus per season, okay? And I think the asking price for him starts with the Derek Stingley Jr. number at 30. All right, now, do I think the Steelers want to pay that number? No, because he hasn't been as productive as Derek Stingley Jr. or Sauce Gardner, or frankly, Trent McDuffie. Now, he's been very good, right? I think that right now he's probably in the conversation to be in the top 10. All right, he's one of the best, and I do think where he's truly elite is in man coverage. He's not quite as good in run defense, and he's not quite as good in zone as some of these other guys, but still a very good player, right? So I think he definitely deserves to be paid in the top 5 among these highest paid corners, and I think they eventually get there, all right? I think that they will get to a number somewhere between $25 and $30 million per season, probably somewhere around 27 and a half, something like that, and he'll be the 4th highest paid corner in the game. And, I think that will be a good value. And I think the Steelers can sit on that number because they do have decent depth at the cornerback position. You have Asante Samuel Jr., who's been a starter in this league for a long time. You got Brandon Echols, who's been a starter both on the outside and on the inside here in Pittsburgh. Even last year, played very well at both spots last season. You bring in Dalen Everett as a corner, right? You have all these pieces that theoretically the Steelers can say, Joey, this is the number we're offering you. If you don't want to play for us this year, we have players waiting in the wings that we feel comfortable with. And, obviously you want Joey Porter Jr. out there, but I do think that this could take a little bit of time before we get the Joey Porter Jr. deal done. And I do think Darnell Washington's deal could get done before that because I think it's a little bit easier. It's not quite as lucrative of a contract. I think Darnell is probably more open to taking a little bit more of a team-friendly deal and not have to be a top 3 paid guy at his position. I think it's probably going to be somewhere around $13 to $15 million per season, which is a good contract for him. But I do think the Steelers really want him, locked up long-term because he's such an X factor for this team. But I also think Darnell wants to be here, and he's been at all the OTAs. He's been participating in mandatory minicamp. He's not holding in or anything like that. So that's another one that I think has a very good chance of getting done, but we'll have to see what ends up happening. $5 from Gray Merrill says, how much do you think Darnell and Joey's extensions could be with Herbig getting $25 million a year? Love the deal and looking forward to the season. So I kind of broke down both of their situations in the previous question, so I'll just kind of keep this one brief. I think with Joey, it'll be around $27 million per season, give or take $1 million or $2 million. And then I think with Darnell, it'll be probably around $13 to $15 million, again, give or take $1 million or so. $5 from Bernard says, Jack, do you think the Steelers are Super Bowl contenders? If not, do you think they are playoff contenders? So the way that I describe teams, I think that, in the NFL, heading into every season, teams, kind of go into 3 different categories. There's about a quarter of the league that really, truly expects to compete for a Super Bowl and is already established that with the players that they have, the coaching staff that they have, that team is capable of competing. All right. And then there's another half of the league that has more questions. And I call those teams Super Bowl hopefuls, where, if everything goes right for those teams, they could theoretically be ready to be a contender and be among those 8 teams by the end of the season that could theoretically go on a run. But, they have new coaching staffs, or they have a new starting quarterback, or they have a lot of question marks on the roster and a lot of new additions, and you just don't know until we get into the season. I think the Steelers are in that middle category. I don't think they're in the rebuilding category. I don't think they're in the bona fide contenders category. I think they're in that category where it's like the wait and see, where it's like you got a lot of question marks, but you also have a lot of potential, in my opinion. And I think that this team has the possibility to be a title contender. It's just they need a lot of things to go their way if they're going to do that. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. Who will be the next to get an extension here in Pittsburgh, and how much will they get per year? Do you think Darnell is the next to get his contract, or do you think Joey Porter Jr. is next up? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section, and let me know how much you think they get per season. All right, that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk and this week's Steelers Talk mailbag. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button, and make sure you guys join us for our live shows, usually on Thursdays, when we film these videos live. So if you guys want to get a question on a future mailbag, feel free to join us, and of course join our family in order to do so right here on Steelers Talk. All right, coming up, we've got our next Madden simulation versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thank you guys so much. I don't know if there's any super chats that we didn't get to on that mailbag, but we can hit those sporadically throughout the game. All right, cool. Yeah, we still have some super chats that we need to get to, and I promise, guys, we will get to every single super chat on the show here. And so far, during the Madden season, it's been pretty good, right? You have a couple losses, weird losses at home, kind of give the Atlanta Falcons a win in Week 1 after their only touchdown came on a blocked punt. Then in Week 2 is the craziest game I've ever seen. 3 lead changes in the final 15 seconds of that game in Foxborough. Steelers come out on top, then they kill the Bengals at home. Then they go on the road and beat the Browns in a close one, and then they kind of got their asses handed to them in the second half against the Colts in that game last week. So now you travel to Tampa Bay for Week 6. If you win, you're sitting at 4-2. You're feeling pretty good. If you lose, you're coming off of 2 straight losses, and you're back to 500, right? And this is really the part of the season that's the easier portion of the season. So this is a big game for the Steelers to really feel good about where they're sitting at this point in the year. With that, Ponzi, whenever you're ready, pal, let's get that up on screen, and let's get it done. It's already been a pretty long live show already. I think we went live, at 4:40 or so? It's almost already been 2 hours. All right. Let's get it, baby. Week 6 in Tampa. Danny Smith, Miles Killebrew, now members of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Danny is chomping on a piece of gum, a whole pack of gum, I should say, on the sideline.
Kenneth Gainwell, too?
Yeah, Kenny Gainwell, running back for Tampa. Is he starting? Or do you have Bucky Irving?
I think I have Bucky Irving, but I don't even know the injuries, too.
All right, so Tampa will get the ball first. The kick is away. It's fielded at around the 5-yard line. And, oh, my goodness, what a hit. Patrick Queen absolutely destroyed the kickoff return man. And now here comes Baker Mayfield, former Heisman Trophy winner. I believe he's heading into the final year of his current contract in Tampa.
He is.
I don't think they're going to extend him.
Ooh. Where do you think he goes?
I don't know. He might just get another contract.
Back to Carolina.
If he plays well in Tampa this year, they're not going to let him leave.
Yeah.
But I think this year is going to be a prove-it year for him. Somehow he's an X factor. Don't know why that is, but trips right here for Baker. A play action. Pressure on him, and he's going to be sacked immediately. Peyton Wilson. Awesome blitzer. I expect him to be much more of a blitzer in Patrick Graham's very blitz-heavy scheme, as opposed to what he was in Terrell Austin and Mike Tomlin's scheme, and he gets a sack to get us going here. Type those sacks in the chat.
Yeah, the X factors on this roster are a little bit weird. Rico Dowdle is a superstar.
Yes, sir. All right. Shotgun here with a nasty bunch out to the left and a wing out to the right. Takes the snap. Baker looking for the quick option. It's caught. It's going to be a nice gain to Cade Otton. He's going to pick up a good game. Gets to a 3rd and 4. Type those threes if you want to get off the field, guys. You guys know what to do. Let's go, man. By the way, if you're just watching our Madden streams for the first time, we cannot change the head coaches, all right? That is ingrained in the DNA of Madden, apparently, where Mike Tomlin has to be the head coach. But we have adjusted the schemes, just so you guys know. Heavy formation here for Tampa, but they'll go play action. Throws quickly to Bucky Irving. He's got to make a man miss. He does, and he's going to be just short. Oh, my goodness.
What a tackle.
Somehow he shook Jalen Ramsey. But Jamel Dean, one of the best tackling corners in the game, brings him down. 4th and inches, they got a punt. I mean, at least you would think, yeah, they're punting.
Defense picking up right where it left off last week. Low snap.
Oh, and it's going to be a tackle. Who is that? That's Malik Harrison. It's a low snap. And the Steelers will take over deep in Tampa territory. Danny Smith has to be livid. Danny Smith has to be absolutely losing his mind on the Tampa sideline. And now Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers offense will take the field at Tampa's 23.
How many times have we seen that happen this year?
Yeah, and this Madden, I mean, block punts happen a lot more often in Madden than in real life. Here we go. They're going to go read option with Rodgers, and he gets lifted off the ground. I think he'll be lucky to even finish this game.
Oh, my God.
I think that was Elijah Cansey that picked him up and slammed him to the ground. We 2nd down and 11.
Jesus.
Shotgun here, takes the snap. He's going to step up, and he's going to get sacked.
What are we doing, man?
No gain. I mean, Todd Bowles loves the blitz. I will say that. Doesn't look like Rodgers was ready for it, though. It'll be 3rd down and 11. Obviously in field goal range, but this would feel like a big missed opportunity. The Steelers can't end this drive with 6. They got a nasty bunch out to the right and DK, the lone receiver, out to the left. Shotgun Rodgers takes the snap. He's looking. Now he'll throw it close to the sticks, but just short. It is caught, though, by Muth. 4th down and 1 and an early decision for Mike McCarthy. I would go for this.
I think they're going to go.
I would go for this, but knowing Madden, I would not be surprised if they put out the kicker, and they will.
Oh, they'll do fake field goal. They always do that. CPU loves that.
The kick is up, and it is good from Boswell.
Missed opportunity, man.
Missed opportunity, man. You had a chance to take an early lead. After a 3-and-out on defense and then a blocked punt on special teams, your defense and special teams giving you everything you could possibly want. And you go 3-and-out on your own side and you get a field goal instead. That's tough.
That's Mike Tomlin football right there.
Yeah, apparently. Kick is away. Going to be fielded again around the 5 by the Bucks, and he's going to get out to around the 25 to the 26. That's where Baker and the Bucks will retake over. Bucks are one of those interesting teams this year, Ponzi, where it's like, they have the players, but they really collapsed at the end of last year, specifically on defense. They don't have Mike Evans anymore. Baker, frankly, didn't play particularly well down the stretch, but they had a lot of injuries on the O-line, and, it just was an unfortunate end to their season. So I think they're another team that's in that Super Bowl hopeful category. Play action here. Quick rollout. It's going to be thrown out to number 41. I have no fucking idea who that guy is, but he picks up a nice 6-yard gain.
Is that Cade Otton? No way, right?
It's not Cade Otton. He's 88. Is that a rookie?
I don't know, man.
Was it the fullback?
Perhaps.
2nd down and 4 here. Shotgun Baker condensed. He's going to throw quickly. It's going to be caught. No Steelers defender even guarding underneath. There's Cade Otton, and Jamel Dean brings him down. 1st down and 10 for Tampa. Rats with a 7 says A-Rod will have more opportunities this year with what I expect with our defense instead of bend, don't break defense. I agree. 1st down and 10 now. New set of downs for Tampa. Spread formation. Shotgun takes the snap. Baker looking. Will throw quickly. Wide open, caught. And that is going to be a 1st down again for Tampa. I believe that's Jalen McMillan on the catch.
One more from Rats here.
And one more from Rats says hot take PQ is going to flourish again in DCPG. I mean, that's what PG says, and he says this is a defense that's similar, or it's a marriage between Mike McDonald, which is the defense that he was an all-pro in, and Bill Belichick. So I'm hoping they can get the most out of PG. I formation here, play action. Baker will throw to the flat again. Patrick Queen, speak of the Devils, it's right there for the tackle, 4-yard gain. Shotgun here for Baker. Condensed formation again, a condensed bunch out to the left. Now he's sending Buka in motion with a man following him, indicating man. Now it's going to be a quick blitz. It's going to be intercepted, and there he goes. Is this Peyton Wilson? No, it's Nick Herbig, the newly paid edge rusher. Touchdown, Steelers! Let's go, Nick Herbig. Baker Mayfield tried to go to a quick little screen to Bucky Irving, and Nick Herbig was there to poach the short pass, and he takes it to the house. Steelers will be up by 2 scores here. Man, what a beautiful day for a Nick Herbig touchdown on the Madden sim on the exact day. He gets his 4-year, $25 million per season extension. Nick Herbig earning his money right there. You better believe it, folks. Well, so far so good, Ponzi. On the road in Tampa, you're up 10-0 in the first quarter.
Not scripted.
Not scripted. Let's go, man.
That was electric.
That was electric. It's one of the better moments of the season so far for the Steelers.
Well, I mean, you can't say that with the Patriots game.
The top 10 electric moments came in that Patriots game, but kick is away and fielded at the 5 again. And once again, good coverage by the Steelers. That looks like Peyton Wilson with another tackle as they go out to the 22, and that's where Baker will take over. A little bit behind the 8 ball at home are the Buccaneers. You know what that means, folks. Steelers pass rush can go to work.
Yep.
Let's go, man.
You got a lead in this game now. It's going to be very, very hard.
Condensed formation here, 2-by-2 in the single back. Baker takes the snap from under center, hands it off to Irving, and he's not going anywhere. I think that's Peyton Wilson again with the tackle.
Making his mark all over this game.
Peyton Wilson's had a hell of a start here in Week 6. Michael says Mike McCarthy keeps getting that tan. Still from Latrobe. It gets hot in Latrobe, man.
Y'all are wild, man.
2-by-2 formation, this time in the pistol. Play action, roll out to the left. Now Baker has to throw from an awkward position. Otten will catch it, but go out of bounds. Now an injury timeout to Ben Bredesen, one of their starting guards. That's no good.
That is not good.
So 3rd down and 7. Type those threes if you want to get off the field. This is exactly the situation that we want to be in this year, guys. 3rd and longs. Pin your ears back. Get after the quarterback. Looks like the Steelers are threatening pressure. Shotgun here. Takes the snap. They do. Blitz. They pick it up. He'll throw, and it's caught to Egbuka. Slightly tough coverage. That was a back shoulder ball. Perfectly placed by Baker. 1st down, Tampa.
A little shifty movement there.
Mm-hmm. That was a nice throw from Baker right there. Back shoulder with pretty decent coverage, honestly. It was just an uncoverable pass. Now shotgun, once again condensed for Tampa. We'll take the snap, hand it off. Irving won't go far. We'll say the Steelers' front is holding up early on in this game, and now that the Bucs have a backup guard in the game, that should give them even more of an advantage on the interior. Under center here, wing formation with 2 wide receivers, 1 on either side. Single back. Takes a snap from under center. Play action. Will throw immediately into the flat again, and Jalen Ramsey over pursues number 41. It'll be a 1st down for Tampa. That's tough, man. You don't want to see that.
Into the 2nd quarter we go.
End of the 1st quarter, 10-0 Steelers, but the Buccaneers, the home team, are driving.
They did get the ball first, though.
Yeah, they did get the ball first, though, so hopefully Steelers can at least make this 2nd quarter a wash. Thank you. Under center again here. Hand off to Bucky Irving. Good, well blocked up front. He will get a good 7 yards before being taken down. Also, Ponzi, I've decided the reason why we lost that Colts game and why the team got worse as the game went on is because they were very hot wearing those all-black uniforms you made them wear. Shotgun here for Baker Mayfield. Will throw down the field. It's caught once again. It looks like it's his tight end, Cade Otton, who is just torching the Steelers here as they get down to the 25. 1st down, Bucs. What were you saying there, Ponzi?
No comment on that.
Yeah, no comment on that, my ass. If we would have worn just our regular uniforms, we would have won that game.
The drip is more important than winning sometimes.
F Ponzi in the chat for making us wear all black.
Drip is more important, guys.
Shotgun here, condensed formation, takes the snap. Baker will throw quickly, and it's not even close, incomplete.
Now, I did put them in the 2017 away uniforms here, so like prime Killer Bees era.
Oh, okay. I mean, I literally did not know there was a difference, but
yeah, I guess the stripes are one different. I don't really know, man.
Yeah, Steelers don't change up too much. Shotgun here. Once again, a condensed formation with multiple tight ends. They'll send Otton in motion to form a condensed bunch. Takes the snap, looking, throwing, wide open. Once again in that little curl area, and it's going to be a 1st down for Chris Godwin as they get inside the Steelers' red zone to the 14.
Looks like they sent a blitz and throw it where the blitz is coming.
Under center, heavy formation. They'll hand it off. Oh, my goodness. Cam Heyward immediately in the backfield and just levels Bucky Irving. Captain Cam getting a nice TFL, making it 2nd down and 12.
It was basically unblocked for the way he got off that block.
Obviously, Tampa only needs a field goal here to get back within 1 score. I'm guessing that is definitely the goal here. They're going to play it somewhat conservative, but a 3-step drop, quick little throw to McMillan. You'll pick up a decent gain. 3rd down and 3 coming up.
Someone's asking why didn't I just do custom franchise for a coach? Because then I would have to sim 3 seasons to get all the schedule matchups. And Rodgers retires after 1 all the time.
Yep. Shotgun here, condensed formation, 3 receivers. 1 tight end, They'll send Egbuka in motion to form a bunch out to the left with all receivers. He takes the snap. Baker looking, will throw middle, wide open, caught, not even contested. Touchdown, Tampa.
Oh, boy.
How do we get that close to the end zone and we're letting like that short area of the field as wide open as it was? Like, what are we doing? So Steelers defense can't get a hold there as Tampa's right back in this game. Cam Heyward, Patrick Queen, not too happy about that drive. I don't blame him. So now Tampa's kicker will line it up, put it up, and it is good. 10-7 is the score. So they shoot off the cannons there at Raymond James Stadium.
Actually, one of the better stadium aesthetics.
It's a cool stadium. It really is. It's kind of unique now because it seems like all these stadiums have that same, kind of indoor stadium aesthetic. Tampa is one of those, more unique places in the league now.
Yeah.
And they will kick it off. And now Caden Weegan is running behind Jeremy Bernard. He kind of gets stuck and gets to the 25. We just got a report here, or an X from, or whatever you want to call it, a tweet from Jordan Schultz. It says, I texted Aaron Donald about coming out of retirement to play for the Rams alongside Myles Garrett. He said, quote, I'm for sure flirting with the idea. Hell of an opportunity with the Super Bowl and SoFi this year. If I can find the fire, it's a possibility. He's coming back. If he's flirting with the idea,
they can't keep getting away with this, man.
He's coming back, man. Under center, play action, Rodgers, all the time in the world. He got nothing. He's going to be sacked.
Hold that ball with two hands, Raji.
Yep, don't want any
Man. Second out of 16 here. Rodgers in the shotgun. Bunch
all
set
right.
to the right.
Shotgun here. Come on, need something here, Raji. Throws down the field into that little window. It's going to be caught by Jeremy Bernard, and he's off and loose. Gets down to the 48. What a beautiful anticipatory throw from Rodgers in a tight window to his rookie receiver, Bernard. Picks up a big gain, and now we're in Tampa territory. It didn't look like it was going to be too good there, Ponzi. But this Steelers offense during this Madden simulated season so far, by far, it's at its best when they're throwing the ball down the field. Kind of like there's still a lot of dinking and dunking and all that stuff, and they try and run the football, but when they're throwing downfield, it's really when they're at their best. Under center here with multiple tight ends, heavy formation, handoff to Jalen Warren, well blocked up front, and he's going to pick up 8. There we go. Nah, man, if Aaron Donald is texting NFL reporters that he's thinking about coming back, he's seriously considering it.
Yeah, that's just...
Which is just scary. It's scary to think that you might have Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett on the same defensive line.
And Donald won't take a long contract.
Here we go. Double play action. Rodgers has time. He's going to throw to a wide open Jeremy Bernard again, and he gets out of bounds inside Tampa's red zone at the 18. Let's go, man. Let's answer with a touchdown. Clock is ticking. If you get a touchdown here, you're up 10, and that really puts a lot of pressure on Tampa to score before the start of the second half. Shotgun here, 2-by-2 formation, takes the snap, they send a blitz, he's going to throw quickly, wide open, it is Muth, he will pick up another 11 yards, gets down to the 7, first down, Steelers.
A little drag pattern.
Yeah, man, I got to say, the most effective route in Madden is the drag route.
Yep.
It's just the way it is.
Money.
That and running back flat routes, because running backs don't drop the ball in Madden. So, like, with their speed, those routes are just so dangerous. Play action here. Rodgers sets his feet. He throws as he gets hit in the back of the end zone, incomplete. Hopefully Rodgers is okay. That's another tough hit he just took. Second down and goal. Got a nasty bunch out to the left with a single receiver out to the right. Takes the snap. Rodgers, they send a blitz. He throws into the flat. It is caught by Muth. Only going to get 2 yards, though. Third down and goal. Big play here, Ponzi, on the other side of the 2-minute warning. If you get a touchdown here, a lot of pressure on Tampa to get something going. Tampa's going to call timeout.
Yep.
All right, so they want to preserve as much time as possible. I mean,
I think I fixed the timeout issue, by the way, guys.
what was it?
I had to, there was a certain setting that made, their intelligence better.
I'm sure Cleveland would have loved to have that turned up.
Well, we would have loved to have that a couple times, too.
Sure, yeah, last game. All right, they go empty on third and goal. They're putting it in Rodgers' hands and expecting him to get into the end zone. He'll take the snap. He'll throw quickly, wide open. What a design. Caught, touchdown, Pat Freiermuth. The Steelers are back up by 10, pending an extra point. Let's go, man. Multiple downfield shots to Bernard on that drive. A couple nice runs. Third down and goal, pressure situation. Rodgers gets it done to his number one receiving tight end, Pat Freiermuth. Let's go. Big time drive from the Steelers. And Boswell will put up the extra point, and it is, of course, good. 17-7 is the score in Tampa. Everybody type those moves.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it, man. I think he's going to have a hell of a season this year. I do. I think that this system got so much out of Dalton Schultz in Dallas. I'm excited, man. I really am. I love how complimentary he is with Darnell, who's going to be an X factor in his own right. Kick is away from Boswell. It's going to be fielded at the 4-yard line and taken out, and trying to make a move does not fool Nick Herbig, earning his money in more ways than one here. And now Tampa's offense retakes the field. This is a big drive for the Steelers defense here, Ponzi, because if you can stop them here and it's a wash in the second quarter, you're getting the ball with a chance to go up 3 scores in the second half of a Madden game. That is huge. But if they get a field goal or a touchdown here, then, you have an opportunity to go up 2 scores, but, you can really put the game away if you can go up 3 scores here and really take care of these next 5 minutes or so. Now a flag, throw incomplete, good coverage. Let's see what the flag is. Was somebody offside?
I think so.
Somebody was offside for the Steelers. Jamel Dean.
Yeah, he lined up weirdly.
What the hell? I guess a free 5 yards for Tampa. What are you doing, man? What are you doing, Jamel? Get lined up.
It's very weird.
Shotgun here. Looks like trips right. They're going to send McMillan on an orbit motion. Now there's going to be pressure in his face. Gets it away to the running backs. He got blockers in front of him. What a play by Jaquan Brisker to take on a block and still bring down the running back. What a play by the Pittsburgh native Jaquan Brisker.
That was incredible.
That might have saved, maybe them getting into makeable field goal range. Who knows? But now they go trips left with a single receiver out to the right. Shotgun Baker takes the snap, throws quickly wide open again. It's going to be another first down. Timeout Tampa. Gets to the 49. They are now in Steeler territory around midfield.
I'm finally glad they're using their timeouts now.
Yeah, the timeouts just makes way more sense. All right, so we got 61 seconds left in the first half. Tampa trying to at least get a field goal, get this within 1 score. Shotgun here, trips right, takes the snap. Baker looking, throwing, short, and he's going to be destroyed by Patrick Queen after a short gain. Chris Godwin, their slot receiver, on the catch. 2nd down and 7. Clock continues to tick. I think they're going to try and keep that timeout in their pocket. Sack here would be huge. 2nd down and 7, trips left this time. Baker will throw in that wide open little curl again. First down, and now they're in field goal attempt range at the Steelers' 33. Clock continues to tick. Will they get this down and just kick the field goal, or I think they're going to try and hurry up.
Of course, Madden Sim does not know how to work a hurry-up offense.
Yep. 15 seconds. They got one more play, really. Sack here would be huge again. Takes the snap. Baker's got time. Throws downfield into a nice little pocket in the zone and gets down to the 10-yard line. Timeout. I think they got time for a shot to the end zone here, Ponzi. That was a big completion there from Baker.
Yeah.
I think they got time for one more shot, and then they're going to kick the field goal, but we'll see what Madden.
Of course, they do not have a timeout, so.
Yep, so just tell Baker to throw it out of the back of the end zone if it's not there. Yep, they will try it. Sack here ends the half here, so a sack would be huge. Baker looking now. He's looking to run. Sack him. Throws it. End zone. Incomplete. Oh, my God. I thought it was an amazing play. From Baker, but he dropped it. Good coverage. It looked like by Joey Porter.
Looks like it.
And now 4 seconds. I think this is where you kick the field goal. And that's exactly what they're going to do. I'm surprised Baker, after that first read not being there, just didn't throw it out of the back of the end zone. Oh, they had a chance to – oh, no. The Steelers fucked it up.
Well, it doesn't matter.
No, it matters.
There's 1 second left.
So they might go for it.
No.
At the 5?
No.
I would think about going for the touchdown if I were them at the 5, but they're going to decline it, and they're going to take the points. All right, so even though it was roughing the kicker, they're going to decline it with 1 second left, so we'll have back-to-back kickoffs here. If we have super chats, we can address those now, Ponzi, as things just kind of play out until the Steelers offense retakes the field to start the second half. It'll be 17-10 at half, barring some sort of crazy miracle at the end of the first half here. But Bernard with a 2 says A-Rod is better than Kirk and Joe Flacco. Easily better than those guys. Like, for me, I understand the limitations that Rodgers has as a quarterback, but I still think the stuff that he does well, he still does at a well enough level where he's like the 20th best quarterback or so in the league. Kirk Cousins and Joe Flacco are not in the top 32. Maybe Flacco is in the top 32.
We got a Hail Mary here.
Oh, I guess we're throwing it deep. Oh, there's it's intercepted.
Oh.
But that's fine. Whatever. All right, so as I was saying there, Flacco, Kirk, like on paper, might be just inside the top 32 if you include like rookies like not being ranked just because they haven't proven anything yet. But like, I think there's definitely 32 quarterbacks I'd rather have as my starter than Kirk Cousins and Joe Flacco, and Aaron Rodgers is definitely one of them. Like I said earlier in the show, that was one of the worst takes I've seen from anybody all offseason. It came from Bill Barnwell from ESPN. Next one here.
Let's see.
Do we have another one?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I think we just returned.
Okay, so we're about to kick things off again.
Any Venmos?
Good question. I don't think so. Let me check real quick, though. Nope, no Venmos. Okay, the kick is away, and we are back for the second half here in Tampa. 17-10, Steelers lead. Now Caden Weegan will take the return, breaks a tackle, and he's got a lot of speed. He gets to the 34.
Have not seen him break one yet.
Yeah, that was the first good return past the 30 that he's had all season, even though he's a 93, 95 return man with a lot of speed. But the Steelers will start this drive with pretty good field position. Now, obviously, it's not the opportunity they could have had going up 3 scores, but they can still go up 2 scores with a field goal or a touchdown here. So they will start this thing out, spreading things out in a trips right formation. Low snap, handed off to Jalen Warren. He's got some room to work, and he's going to pick up 3. Unsuccessful first down run for Pittsburgh.
That's not what we want to see. They kind of ran the ball efficiently last week.
Yeah, they did. And they did against the Bengals. Very efficiently, actually, against the Bengals. And now they'll put Rodgers under center here on second down and medium. Only 2 receivers on the field. Multiple tight ends, hands it off, and he's not going anywhere. Jalen Warren actually loses a yard here, and Andrew Wingard, I believe, is on the tackle there.
Now at risk of going 3 and out to start off the half.
That's Anzalone.
Yeah, that's right.
And Alonzo. 3rd down and 8. Let's see if Rodgers can dig him out here. They got trips left with doubles right. Shotgun in the empty is Rodgers. Takes the snap. Looking, nothing there. Shifting, up, throwing on the run. What a play by Rodgers, and there he goes. He's loose. It's Michael Pittman Jr. down to the 25-yard line. First down, Steelers. What a play by Aaron Rodgers. Who said he can't, work a little magic out of structure now and again?
Oh, my goodness. What a off-platform throw.
It might not be his strong suit at this point in his career, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have a little bit of magic left in that cat. They go I formation here with 2 receivers lined up out wide to the left. Handoff, Warren tries to bounce it outside. He's successful. There he goes down to the 10. Tries to cut inside. He gets down to the 7. Again, first down, Steelers.
We're driving, baby.
All right, let's get into the end zone here. Raji's feeling it. Knocking on the door again. Let's go up by 2 touchdowns here. 2-touchdown lead at this point in the game would be huge. Shotgun here, trips left. Takes the snap, hands it off to Warren, trying to get a block, and he can't. It's going to be no game. Once again, that is Alonzo Anzalone. I think if you're going to get into the end zone here, Ponzi, you're going to have to throw it, but they're going to go in the I formation. Multiple tight ends, 2 receivers. Actually, 1 tight end, 2 running backs. Play action. He's got plenty of time. Rodgers throws end zone in the corner. Caught. Touchdown. Steelers. DK. Have it your way. He scores. Let's go. Touchdown, DK. Aaron Rodgers with a beautiful throw in the corner of the end zone, and the Steelers will go up by 2 touchdowns.
It's kind of been a staple in this Madden season.
Yeah, and very good offensive performance today. Outside of that missed opportunity on the first drive, just imagine they would have capitalized on that first opportunity. We'd be sitting here with 28 points.
To be 28-10.
Yeah. Multiple nice drives from the Steelers offense here after that first failure of a drive. And frankly, this Tampa defense looking like they did at the end of last year.
Not good.
And remember, no Jamel Dean.
Yeah, we took him. He's ours.
Yeah, he was like I don't think it's crazy to say Jamel Dean was their best defensive player last year.
Oh,
Antoine
Vita
Vea, yeah, fair enough. And then Antoine Winfield Jr. is a good player too, but he was definitely their best secondary player last year. And the return, decent return here for Tampa. I think that's Tez Johnson takes it out to the 31.
I mean, DK had the clutch touchdown to take the lead for the first time in the Patriots game?
I believe so. All right, defense, time to pin your ears back here. You better believe Tampa's going to be starting to throw the ball a little bit more. Under center, play action. Baker has time, throws, and a tight window caught, and there he goes. Chris Godwin nearly broke it loose, but Jalen Ramsey cleans it up, and they're already at the Steelers' 27-yard line. Damn, man. Come on, defense. The offense is playing great. Can we just get a stop?
You know, it's so funny because, defense has been great so far.
Yeah.
Nick Herbig touchdown.
Shotgun here for Baker. He'll send his tight end in motion and then send him back. Takes the snap. Play action. Throws. Nice tight window throw there from Baker, dropping it right in the middle of 3 different defenders to Chris Godwin, and he's going to get down to the 8-yard line. First down, Bucks. Come on, type those stops in the chat. Type those stops in the chat if you want to stop them here.
Not ideal so far.
Obviously, if you can stop them to a field goal here, that'd be huge because then the offense would have a chance to go up to 3-score lead if they get a touchdown. A quick throw in a tight window. Good breakup here from Peyton Wilson, who's having himself a hell of a game. Multiple tackles, a sack, pass breakup now. I'll take that.
Really need to stop here.
Under center, 5-step drop. Baker now looking to run. Is anyone going to pick him up? And yes, they do. They run him over. It'll be at the 2-yard line, 3rd down and goal. Big time stop opportunity right here. Come on, boys.
Guess Baker didn't watch the film last week with Daniel Jones.
But on 4th down and goal from the 2, do they go for it?
Yeah, of course they do.
I think they probably do, so you got to stop them twice. Shotgun here with a condensed bunch. Now they're going to send Igbuka in motion to create a 2-by-2 formation. No one's following him. Out route, I should have threw it to Igbuka, and it's going to be incomplete. Oh, my goodness, man. Steelers left Emeka Egbuka wide open on an out route for a touchdown, and Baker's just stupid and didn't throw it to him. 4th down and goal. Let's see what Tampa does. Nope, they're sending the offense out there. Here we go. Type a stop in the chat. Pistol formation for Baker. We'll take the snap. Hand off to Bucky Irving. Stop! Stop! Alex Highsmith with the stop! And the Steelers, all they need is a field goal to go up 3 scores. What a stop! A goal line stand by the Steelers defense. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go! All right. That's what we needed there, Ponzi. Now we just got to get out of the shadow of our own end zone. No safeties here. And all we need is 3 points. And we've pretty much put this game away.
Although, got to be careful here.
Pistol here, trips left, takes the snap, hand off. Warren, great blocking, and this is going to be a great gain. Gets down to the 22. First down, Steelers. Let's go, man. Steelers offense humming today. Of course, they got a defensive touchdown as well. Steelers are rolling right now. 2 running backs set here. Going to throw it. Almost intercepted for a touchdown by Tampa. Anzalone.
You said it so wrong many times.
Because I have Analonzo in my brain. I can't not say it like that. But Anzalone had the ball in his hands. It would have been an easy touchdown to make it a 1-score game. Instead, it's incomplete. I formation, handoff to Jalen Warren. He's got good blocking, and now he's got room. And he's going to break a tackle and get down to the 38. Jalen Warren, another Steelers. First down. Let's go. Jalen Warren in the run game, getting going in the second half. I love to see it. And now, first down again.
Let's run the ball.
Keep running the ball. Make them stop us. Only one receiver on the field. Play action. Now he'll throw it short, wide open. That is Mount Washington. Darnell getting in on the action here. Another decent gain, and now we're in Tampa territory, and we're one more first down away from field goal attempt range. Let's go, man. This game might be over by the 4th quarter.
Yeah, hopefully it is.
Get some super chats down there, man, so we can answer some questions in case this game gets out of hand. Play action, roll it to the left. Little shovel pass from Rodgers. It's caught, but for a loss. They went back to Darnell Washington and Vita Vea.
Okay, we're getting a little too cute now.
Yeah, I think we're getting a little too cute here. Why we shovel passing when we're right on the precipice of putting this game away?
Almost threw a pick 6 earlier, Raji. Let's calm down.
Shotgun here for Rodgers. 3 receivers. Takes the snap. Looking. Just needs a downfield shot. He's got time. Throws middle. Caught. First down, Jeremy Bernard. That'll be more than good enough to get us in the field goal range. And now it's just run the fucking football, man. Run it one more time to get us into the 4th quarter. Run it 2 more times. Kick the field goal. You're up 17 points.
Chris Godwin got me mad. He literally caught 80-yard passes just to get nothing.
Now they go shotgun here. Just run it. Why are we passing? Throws caught. Michael Pittman gets an 8-yard gain. Kind of a tight window throw. Why are we messing around? Just run the damn ball. There's no reason to throw the football right now and risk the clock stopping. But the clock will continue, and we get into the 4th quarter. Steelers in full control of this game, 24-10 after a goal line stand, and now another nice drive put together by Rodgers and Jalen Warren. Now they're inside the Tampa Bay red zone for the 3rd time today. Both times they've scored touchdowns. Shotgun takes the snap. Rodgers looking, throws, contested, and caught. Why are we throwing contested balls?
Pause.
Pause. No, not really pause. Why are we throwing the ball into hotly contested situations here? We could just run the ball. We're getting like 20 yards a carry in the second half. Why not just hand it off? But the clock continues. And they will hand it off to Warren this time. And he's got the edge. And there's no one there. Touchdown Steelers! Jalen Warren! Let's go! And the Steelers put up over 30 on Tampa's shitty-ass defense. And what is that? What is that, Ponzi? I think I hear the crowd. Fireballs. Fireballs. Man, this crowd is not too happy with Todd Bowles, the head coach. Kick is up, and it is good. 31-10 Pittsburgh on the road. What a game for the black and gold here, man. Just dominating. Now we're in the fourth quarter. This game's over. This game's over, man. And if we lose this game, I will run around downtown Dallas tonight completely naked.
Whoa.
All right? That's my promise to you guys. So hopefully Ponzi doesn't have anything crazy for me here.
Maybe, maybe not.
I will get arrested for
before your wedding
for public indecency the week of my wedding. If the Steelers end up losing this game. So if you guys have super chat questions, if you guys want to, talk some Steelers ball, because this game's pretty much over, feel free to send it in. Now, our promise to you guys is that we will show this all the way through. So we'll react to that. But if you guys have Steelers questions, feel free to put hashtag Steelers in there as well. And Ponzi, if you see any good questions, feel free to put them up on screen.
I'm convinced, Marshall says, chatter here, I'm convinced the AI being set to stupid the first 5 games is the only reason we lost to the Falcons and Colts.
Fair enough. Big gain for Tampa here, though, so not looking good for me. When he gets to about midfield, I'm just one little shot to Jalen McMillan. Shotgun here, takes the snap. Baker's going to run with it. Design quarterback run. He breaks a tackle on Peyton Wilson. See, this is one of the things I just hate about Madden, man. Like, quarterbacks can break tackles on linebackers now.
They never fumble anymore.
Give me a break, man. First down and 10 for Tampa, already at Pittsburgh's 34. Going spread here. And now Baker changing the play to more of a condensed formation. Takes the snap, looking, time in the pocket. Now throwing a corner out. Caught, first down. Tampa again, out of bounds. Uh-oh. Uh-oh is right, Ponzi. Ali the Reaper's asking, what do I think of JPJ's next contract? I think he's going to get somewhere between 26 and 28 million per season. And I think it's going to take a little bit longer to get his deal done than Herbig's deal. But look at Mecca Ibuka just bouncing off of tacklers. Second down and inches coming up. So that's kind of what I think. I think that this one, it might even bleed into training camp a little bit, but eventually I think Joey and his representation are going to realize that the Steelers aren't going to budge off their number, and they do have good depth at the cornerback position. And I think the Steelers are going to hold firm on their number, and they're not going to pay $30 million a year. Quick little dump off. It's caught for a short game, but they do pick up a first down inside the 10 at the 8-yard line.
McMillan.
What did I say?
No, I was just saying that's who caught it.
Gotcha. Shotgun here for Baker. Spread formation, 2x2. He's going to be a quick little screen of Bucky Irving, and he's going to outrun Alex Highsmith, and he's going to get to the 5-yard line. Second down and goal coming up.
I mean, it is good. I mean, they're just chewing clock, too.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, the more plays, the merrier. I'm okay giving up a touchdown here. I am. I'm okay giving up a touchdown here. If it means
you don't have to run naked down Dallas.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, man. But if you get an interception here, that means I don't have to run naked through through Dallas either. Corner, wide open in the corner, touchdown. Why are we playing it like that, man? That's just so stupid. Touchdown, Chris Godwin. I'm okay with it. Steelers have pretty much already won this game. You got 3.5 minutes left to go, so the Steelers need to either make a huge blunder and fumble the ball or do a pick six or something.
I assume they're going to go for the onside, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing so. You got to get 2 straight onside kicks to make this a reality, or at least one. The bare minimum, you have to force a 3-and-out versus Pittsburgh this upcoming drive. What's nice about having that breaking news for Nick Herbig today is Ponzi and I don't have to do any post-prod after the live show today, so we can just go right home.
Just got to do some reporting and get out of here.
And just so you guys know, I'll take this time to kind of break this down. Onside kick, first one here. It's just going to be fielded by Roman Wilson.
Oh, my God.
And he gets tackled because he's not down by he's not giving himself up technically there. So this is the only live show that we're doing this week. I am heading to Minnesota tomorrow to join my lovely bride, Cassie, at our home in Minnesota. And we're going to be seeing our families. And, of course, we get married this weekend on Saturday. So if breaking news happens for the Steelers on Saturday, you're going to see Ponzi, but we're going to have a pre-film video that goes out that Saturday. We'll have at-home videos for all the news that comes out of mandatory minicamp this week. Don't you worry, guys. I'll make sure to get you guys covered with all that great stuff, but this will be the only live show this week, and I'm also out of the office next Monday and Tuesday, so expect to see some at-home videos, early in the week next week, and then we'll be back live on Wednesday next week where, of course, I'll be a married man. So,
yeah.
Hand off to Jalen Warren, gets a yard. Just kill that clock, man. Just kill that clock.
Kill that clock.
K Powers is asking, where's Mike McCarthy? See, the way that we do these games is we do quick play, and you're not allowed to switch the head coaches. You can switch the playbooks, which we have, but you can't switch the head coaches. So that's why Mike Tomlin is the head coach. Under center here is Rodgers. They're going to send Pittman in motion, and they're going to hand it to him in another short gain. Timeout Tampa. So smart, actually really smart timeout management in this game from Tampa.
Finally. Quentin asks, what do you think about the Darnell Savage finally signing?
Oh, yeah, man. We didn't really talk about that today, but, yeah, that finally happened. I mean, depth safety, will be a good addition, I think, for what he is. Now, a quick little dump off here to Muth, who's wide open on a mesh concept, and he's inbounds too, so they have to use a timeout here. But the Steelers will have a new set of downs. So that's going to be pretty much it, especially because the Steelers are probably at least getting a field goal here.
Yeah.
So if you get a field goal, the game is over. Officially. It's 3 scores with this amount of time left. There's just no chance. So Christopher is asking, are we the only ones doing Sims? There's only a few channels that do Sims. Raiders does it.
That's it.
I think that's it. I think it's just us and Raiders. So
take my job seriously here.
So yeah, a lot of people don't want to stay late, to watch a Madden simulation. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But we have a lot of fun with this here on Steelers Talk. It's been a tradition here the last 2 years. So it's always fun to, throw these players out there in a Madden sim and see, how you stack up on the schedule. And it's a good community building tool that we have here for sure. It's going to be a handoff to Warren, not going to get far. 3rd down and 9 coming up. Of course, Tampa's used all their timeouts, so this will take us to the 2-minute warning.
Pretty much just get a first down and officially ends it.
So Lester Holmes says, do you believe the Steelers will sign Fautano, Frazier, and McCormick to second contracts? Do they keep drafting line talent? I think they will. If Fautano continues on his path and he becomes like a legitimate franchise left tackle, they will give him a second contract. And then Frazier, they will almost certainly give a second contract to. McCormick, I think, is probably the odd man out in that group. They spent the least amount of draft capital to draft him, and there's only so much money to go around, plain and simply. So if he plays really well, then obviously you have that discussion. But I think out of those three, McCormick is clearly the one that they would let walk. I think guard is not as important of a position as tackle is. It's not unimportant. It is important to have a very solid group of 5, but I think in terms of the guys that they feel like they can't afford to not have, it's Fautano and Frazier. And if they can get something done with McCormick that's reasonable and all that different stuff, and he's playing good football for the rest of his rookie contract, I'm not going to rule out that he gets a second contract here, but I do think, out of the young talent that they have on this offensive line, McCormick is probably the guy they might let walk. And hey, if he walks and he gets a decent contract, you could be looking at a comp pick for a player like that. So that's my thoughts on that. Good question.
Looked away for a second. Did they get a field goal or something?
Yeah, they got a field goal. It's over.
Yeah.
Hell, I think at this point, man, well, nope, we said we would watch all the way through.
We watch all the way through.
We said we'd watch all the way through.
We even watched all the way through the Bengals game, and that was more of a blowout.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So if you guys got any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer any questions here. Finish up our show. Up until the end of this stream here.
All right. Little conversation starter here.
All right.
Who is theoretically the least amount of skill or like the highest or lowest amount of quarterback play that you think the Rams could win the Super Bowl with? I said Carson Wentz.
It's a good question, man. Let me just take a look here. Just go team by team. Could they win it with Josh Allen? Absolutely. Could they win it with Malik Willis? I will say maybe on that one. Maybe Malik Willis because we just don't know. Plus, he'd be a first-time playoff quarterback. And I know this would be like an outlier supporting cast, but I would say I would lean yes, though. I would lean yes on Malik Willis. Then Geno.
Gonna Minicamp me here.
I'm gonna say yes to Geno. I'm a Geno stan. You guys know that.
I don't know, man.
Listen, man, I don't think he's a top 25 quarterback in the game, but like we know he can operate a McVay-style offense efficiently, especially if he has good weapons around him. He's supported by that defense. I think yes on Geno. I'm probably alone on that. I get it, but
I guess just like I'm alone on the Carson Wentz.
I don't think Carson Wentz. I would not say
I think Carson Wentz played better than Geno Smith last year.
Drake May, yes. Joe Burrow, yes. Deshaun Watson, honestly, no. Shedeur Sanders, no. Lamar Jackson, yes. So I'm counting the ones that I would say no on. So I have no on just Deshaun, and I think they could win it with Lamar. I think they could win it with Aaron. I think they could win it with Daniel Jones. I think they could win it with Trevor Lawrence. I think they could win it. Could they win it with Stroud? Yeah, they could win it with Stroud. They could win it. Here's why they could win it with Stroud. I don't believe in Stroud in cold weather, but they could be the number 1 seed with Stroud, and they would have home field advantage. And if they're home every game, they could win the title. Cam Ward, I would have to say yes on Cam Ward. It's kind of similar to Malik Willis where it's like a maybe because we just don't know yet. But I would say yes. Bo Nix, yes. Justin Herbert, yes. Patrick Mahomes, yes. Kirk Cousins, no. I would say no on Kirk Cousins. I don't think he has enough arm strength. Fernando Mendoza, no as well. So that's 2 teams with quarterbacks that I think couldn't win the Super Bowl with the Rams. Then Commanders, yes with Jaden. Dak Prescott, yes. Jalen Hurts, yes. Jackson Dart.
I mean, if you're putting Cam Ward in there, I think yes.
See, the thing with Dart is I don't trust him to stay healthy.
That's true.
So I'm actually going to say it might be a little hypocritical here. He'd be in the maybe category here, but I would say no. So that's 3 teams. Caleb, yes. Jared Goff, yes. Jordan Love, yes. Kyler Murray, yes. I will say yes on Kyler. Baker, yes. Tua? Oh, dude, Tua's tough. He's kind of in the same category as Stroud for me, where it's like he sucks in cold weather, but he's been super productive on good teams with good coaching. I will say yes to Tua. I think if Tua was on the Rams, they could compete for a Super Bowl. Bryce Young. Oh, Bryce Young's a tough one, dude.
I think so.
I only have 3 teams right now with starting quarterbacks that I don't think.
Maybe I'm just a Bryce Young guy. I know the inconsistencies there, but when he's on, dude, he looks so
I'm actually
good.
going to say no on Bryce Young.
Wow.
I'm going to stake my claim there. Maybe I'm wrong on that. It's close. You could go either way with Bryce Young. Tyler Shuck, I would say no.
Wow.
No right now.
I thought Tyler Shuck was the best rookie quarterback last year.
I thought he was pretty good too. I'm actually going to include Cam Ward. I don't think Cam Ward.
That makes it more sense then.
There we go. Yeah, so I got 6 teams. Brock Purdy, yes. Jacoby Brissett. Oh my God, bro. That's because he's good at that kind of system. I actually think they could.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying Carson Wentz. He's played well in that system before.
I think I'm I don't know. Maybe this list is getting off the rails because I'm saying yes to Jacoby Brissett, but no to like Cam Ward and like some of these promising younger quarterbacks. But playoff experience matters, man. It does. Then, so what? I'm up to 7. Obviously, Stafford is a yes, and then Sam Darnold, obviously a yes. So I got about a quarter of the league have quarterbacks that I think couldn't compete for a Super Bowl if they were the quarterback of the Rams. So that just tells you how good of a surrounding cast I think that the Rams have. You know, like I think it's if Stafford stays healthy this year, they have about as good of any team in NFL history to go 17-0 and win the Super Bowl. If Aaron Donald comes back, especially. Yeah. Like that team is stacked. I think they have the best head coach in the game. I think they got really good offensive and defensive coaching. They got the MVP of the league in Stafford. You've got awesome weapons all across the board. Solid offensive line, got incredible defensive line talent if you have Garrett and Donald. And then you have Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson's a good number 2 corner. Like they got some nice up-and-coming players there. You got Chris Shula as the DC. That's the best team in the league right now. And if you add Aaron Donald to that mix, they might be one of the best teams of all time.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you at all.
So there's a lot of quarterbacks that, just like the Eagles team 2 years ago, there was a lot of quarterbacks that could have won the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles 2 years ago. So,
I think I would change like I said, obviously my Carson Wentz love for that in the McVay offense. I think I would add just Tyler Shuck just because I think, he played well in a Kellen Moore type of offense.
I think in his first Super Bowl, though, or first playoffs, that he'd be able to get it done.
With that defense, it would be – you'd have to –
It's fair enough, man.
You'd have to collapse like C.J. Stroud.
It's not never happened, right? There are quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, for example. I believe it was his first playoffs, and he won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
So, it has happened before. So if you include like Dart, Ward, Shuck, kind of these promising – even Bryce Young, you could throw in you could make an argument there's only and because 3 or 4 quarterbacks that are current starters in this league that couldn't win a Super Bowl with this year's Rams team.
To play a little devil's advocate to your Bryce Young, and I understand Bryce Young's so decisive. In that playoff game, he played amazing.
Yeah,
he played lights out. He almost took down the Rams.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think Bryce Young is one of those guys where he's going to have to definitely prove it.
I don't know if he was that close to taking down the Rams, if we're being fair.
He led a 2-minute winning drive, and then they drove down the field because their defense lost J.C. Horn.
Yeah, fair enough. I think a lot of that second half comeback, though, was because the Rams got really conservative.
But also, he threw a dot.
I know. Bryce played really well in that second half. I'm not trying to take that away. You know what? I'll take the Bryce Young one back. If he played for the Rams, they're probably still title favorites.
I think, obviously hypotheticals are hypotheticals, but
there's at least 6 quarterbacks. Well,
and most of those are rookies.
Yeah, the only ones that I for sure wouldn't take are Deshaun Watson,
no,
Kirk Cousins, It's probably the one
Deshaun
site
Watson
I'm
hasn't
for
shown
sure.
a glimpse of what he was.
Right.
And that's concerning at this point.
Yeah, I would say Kirk Cousins and what was the other one? Deshaun are probably the two that I for sure don't think would be title contenders. But even like Kirk Cousins, like you can make an argument. He worked with McVay before. Like he could operate that offense. Obviously, he can't really throw the ball down the field all that much, so that's going to be a major weakness for them. But
that's why my Carson Wentz love for McVay, man.
I mean, that just goes to show you how good that Rams team is this year. But, of course, this isn't Rams Today by Chat Sports. This is Steelers Talk by Chat Sports.
If you want to watch that one.
Yeah, exactly. And that is it for today's show, man. This has been a long, long show, man. We got almost 3 hours booked on today's show. And, hey, this is the only live show that we're having this week, so it might as well have been a pretty long one here. So greatly appreciate your guys' support. Of course, we won't be having another live show the rest of the week unless there's some sort of breaking news or I have to do it from my computer or something like that. But obviously, like Friday and Saturday, those days are going to be blocked off. You're not going to hear from me in a breaking news situation. Ponzi will probably have us covered there if that's the case. But I just want to thank you guys so much for all the love that you have given to me and Cassie and of course, Ponzi, and all these people that help out our channel. So that'll be it for today's show. We'll see you guys next week on Wednesday for our next Steelers Talk live show, where it's the Paris game versus the New Orleans Saints in our Madden simulated season. So should be a lot to talk about by then. Can't wait to see you guys then. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.